There we go.
Ooh, actually.
Oh yeah, let's go ahead and move this over here because we're doing a stream like that.
I need to check my POB to see how much damage I gain if I swap all my gems over from crit damage to this extra elemental damage as elemental damage, because that could be a lot of damage.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. The fucking the runs I've had, like I actually have not been so not even motivated. It's just fun. It is fun to run Act 1 as fast as fucking possible. I don't know what it is, but like it's actually fun to do it. Like everyone dreads the campaign, and I actually have a lot of fun playing the campaign.
It gets, I don't mind it. It just gets really, really boring so fast. Like when you get into like that like Act 3, Act 4 part, it's just like I'm so over this. I think speedrunning to Act 1 is fun though.
Path of Exile, man, I'm sorry, it's just a better game. It just kind of is.
Better developers make better game. Who thought?
It's just a better game, man. Like overall. Dude, I knew that that title was gonna work.
Oh wait, my DPS just dropped the fuck off. What?
Dude, I've learned from Asmongold, man. Dude, you want to learn the fucking algorithm? Watch Asmongold. Regardless if you think he's a degenerate or not, pay attention and write down notes. This dude's been part of the game for like 15 years. Have you seen his videos? Every single one he drops in a day is getting like 1 million. Fucking wild. Yeah. And like, regardless of what he's talking about, whether you agree with it or not, those titles and those thumbnails are absolutely crisp. That dude, every single video he's been dropping over the last like 2 or 3 weeks, every day, it just gets like 1 million views. This dude is printing money. This dude like streams from his fucking attic in his house, and he's like making millions of dollars a year just sitting there.
Yeah, no, he's doing really well for himself.
He's doing very well for himself. He's basically the news at this point. Yeah, pretty much. Because the problem is that people don't like listening to the news, not because they don't like the subject of the news. They don't like listening to the news because of the newscaster's interpretation of the news being filtered through corporate bullshit. That's what they don't like. And regardless of Asmongold's actual opinions, whether you agree with him or not, the dude is straight up honest. Like, he doesn't have a filter. That fucker will just say whatever he wants to say. And I think people respect that more than listening to filtered bullshit. And that's the reason why he's like the new news now. Because I know that's why I don't watch the news. It's so obvious that they're reading from a script, right?
Yeah.
That's the reason why I don't like that's the reason why I don't. Hey man, how you doing? It's been a while. It has been a while, my man. How are you? Both Kay and I's entire Diablo 4 career depends on this stream, dude. Seriously.
Like if my Diablo 4 career depends on if our YouTube gets back from being
that's
hacked.
right. That's right. Has there any news about that? Actually, you don't need to share that. We're on stream. It's on stream. Never mind. Never mind. We didn't say anything. Never mind. Never mind.
Right now.
Never mind.
Like, public information that's gone right now, but no, we haven't heard back.
Okay.
So my Diablo 4 career has a little bit more riding on it than this live stream.
I'm doing great, dude. I got the medical license to actually get my job now, so we're just job searching, and hopefully I'll get the job here pretty soon. I actually got the actual licensing now, so now it's like, all right, we're good. It took a lot of work, dude. It's so much work to get the licensing for that crap. You're like, oh, I went to school, I'm done. You're like, huh. Now you need to pass this test and this test and this test and this exam and this exam and this certification and this and this and this and this. It's like owning a restaurant, dude. You have to have like 20 fucking permits to do your job. I've also been doing a lot of hiking recently. I'm sure you guys have seen kind of some pictures about that stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. California is amazing.
Yeah, so let's see. Here was Cucamonga. So this is at like 5 in the morning. That's the moon.
That's awesome.
Yeah. This is me. So we were hiking from a river line. So like it goes all the way down there. And we were hiking, and I hiked from like the river line all the way up to this point, came up. This is at the top of the Twin Forks Saddle. So this is after I gained about 2,700 feet. And out there, there's like I-15. This is me going across the actual saddle. We're going to Cucamonga now. There's Ontario Peak right there, and then Cucamonga's up this way. And then we're actually going up it. This is the actual Cucamonga Peak I'm hiking. There's Ontario again. Back there, that is Telegraph Peak. And then there's LA. That's LA right there.
Dude,
Fucking crazy.
This guy's gaming and touching grass. This guy's like living life.
Pretty fucking crazy right there. Keep on going up. So this is Mount San Antonio, or Mount Baldy is what people know it. This is like a pretty famous ski resort. A lot of people do skiing right there. There's Ontario. Still going up. All right, so this is me at the top right here. There's Jacinto. There's a peak that I'm going to be doing there that actually does Cactus to Clouds. It's a 10,800 elevation foot gain in 13 miles. I'm training to do that. There's Jacinto right there. That's Santa Monica over there. Irvine is right here, so Blizzard HQ is like somewhere right over there. There's a Gorgonio. There's a San Bernardino. Back there is Irvine. This is downtown LA right here. You can't really see the mountains, but this is Malibu right over here. Here's the I-15 that goes right through the Massage Pass between San Bernardino Mountains and Angeles Forest. And then right back here, this is 29 Palms. This is where I used to go this is where I was stationed for my Marine Corps career. And back there is like Las Vegas. And then there is Mount Baldy again. And then back way back there, I know you can barely see it, but that's actually, or sorry, right here. This is Telescope Peak, and right behind that is Death Valley. So it was a pretty good hike, man. Really, really good views up top. All right, here we go.
Oh, I gotta pause my music now.
It's quiet. I'm sorry, guys. I have it as loud as possible.
Talk quietly.
So is Adam Fletcher not the community manager anymore?
No, I think Adam Fletcher left.
No, he said he was 14 feet to his left.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, I don't know.
Everybody, yeah, thanks.
There we go.
Good to be here. So I'm Dan Tangway. I am the design director for Live Surfaces.
Nice. Things aren't too hot in Albany these days, Dan?
It's cooling down. There was a heat wave earlier. Electricity went out. No AC. No fun.
Well, AC's back. We're good to go. We're good to party.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And what better to party with than, very exciting to say, we've got a Twitch drop this stream. So if you have Twitch drops enabled on your account and you're watching on Twitch, you'll be able to snag the Lacunize Pupil two-handed Sork staff. And the really exciting part about this staff is that it's got a nice crystal kitty on the end. So if you're a big cat fan like myself, you can watch this stream or any other eligible stream.
Wait, they're not going to show what it looks like.
Category for 30 minutes, and you'll be able to claim that. We do have some FAQs for Twitch drops on our blog.
Oh, there it is.
The stream, so
Oh, that's
if you're
cute.
having any issues, go and check it out. And,
Yeah, I'm going to
you
the
cannot watch
Diablo
stream
4.
muted. You have to have us
Diablo.
muted to
I'm just
collect
gonna have that
stuff,
fucking
so
muted and
enjoy.
run into the background, boys. Don't mind
Give
me.
you a little overview of the stream. It's been a while since we chatted since the Season 9 PTR. We're going to give you a bit of a refresher on the overview. What does Sins of the Horadric bring? We're going to go through some class balance updates, some PTR changes, and then we're going to get into some Q&A towards the end of the stream. And so, in terms of what questions we're kind of looking for the Q&A section, you know, something like what are the goals of seasonal class updates is a great question. Anything that's really speaking broadly to like the why of how we do things. You know, if you want the nitty-gritty changes, you can go check it out in the patch notes. But we're looking for, you know, nice and broad questions. I asked Dan what kind of question he might want to hear from chat, and he said, you know, do they prefer affix or affix? So you know, some other things to chew on.
Yeah,
for
that's
that.
a
But
great
stick
question to
around
ask.
towards the end
Hey,
of
how do you
the
pronounce
stream.
this word
The
rather than
community
hey,
will
how
be
do you care
grabbing
about your game?
questions, and we'll look forward to
I
answering
think it
those.
was sarcasm.
So yeah,
Yep.
but without further ado, since
Everyone
the
knows
I'm
it's
mad,
safe.
I'm mad at
been
them. Don't worry
sinning,
about it, guys.
how
I'm
have
very
they sinned?
salty.
They're
We're gonna
apples.
find out.
I'm very salty. Don't mind me.
Dan Tangway is going to walk us through everything coming.
I feel like we're
season,
finally on the
tell us
opposite side of
what
things,
the
where I'm like
Rotterdam have been up
really,
to,
really
and
glad, and
why
you're
are we
finally
doing
like the one
fast
that's like
bosses.
angry. We're
Yeah,
usually
let's do
swapped
that.
in this
So,
spot.
Right.
graphic here. And
We
this
really can't
graphic,
get on the same page, dude.
pretty familiar to a lot of you, but that's going to
so
cover
fucking salty,
all of
bro.
what Season 9 contains, and it is a lot. So, Season 9, Sins of the Horadric.
It is
First
a lot,
up,
my ass.
you're going to get a new quest line, new seasonal quest line. I'm going to go over a little bit about the premise behind that after I get through this massive list of things. Next up, seasonal content. So, as you saw in the PTR, we've got Horadric spellcraft, and we've got Horadric jewels. Both of those systems are pretty deep, and I'm going to kick it over to Aislinn after I'm done to chat through those.
Do we really have
we
to
also
talk about
have
it
a new
again?
season journey pet
I guess they do,
Who
because
cares?
people
People
didn't play
Dante.
the PTR, right?
He's a good dog,
Plus, not everything was on the
but
PTR. Like,
simply
we didn't get like the
doesn't
Nightmare Dungeon
but
changes. We didn't get like
he'll be
the
available, as
Yeah.
will new reliquary
Stronghold
rewards, which I
thingies.
feel are
The
pretty
thing about the Nightmare
self-explanatory.
Dungeons, bro, is
But
that
then
they
we're
need
really
to make it harder
excited
than
to
Torment
bring
4.
to you
That's the
some
problem.
permanent
Agreed.
updates to the game as well.
I think
Hard
This
is
is
I
something
Nightmare,
we've
I
heard
think
a lot of
Nightmare
feedback
Dungeons are
from
fun.
y'all
I think the
on, and we
problem with
want to
Nightmare
make sure
Dungeons
that
is
we
that
are
they just
delivering
don't
it moving
scale.
forward.
So
And that's
like,
making
Well, we're
sure
getting
that
new
whenever we
Nightmare
make
Dungeons, right?
updates to major systems, that those updates
oh,
appear in both the seasonal and the Eternal
it's
Realms.
actually taking your
Sometimes
volume
we'll
and my
call this
volume, so it's
evergreen,
like super crazy
but
loud.
at any rate,
Okay, hold on.
a lot of updates to Nightmare Dungeons that apply to both
see.
realms. We're going to talk a bit about Horadric Strongrooms. We're going to talk a bit about escalating nightmares, and some new Nightmare Dungeon affixes as well. And of course, we will talk about the Astaroth. Now, finally,
Yeah, I
we've
fixed
got
it, guys.
a
I'm
lot
sorry.
of new
I'm sorry. I
loot
fixed it,
and
guys.
class updates.
I know that was
are
super
coming to
loud. That's probably
Season
why people
9.
left, because of how loud
That's
it was.
something that Charles is much
Sorry
better
about that.
suited to cover than I am. So we'll kick it over to him, and we'll probably finish up with some quality of life updates. So, let's jump into story. Let's see. I think we got a graphic. Yes, we're going to start with Astaroth. So,
Which was a great boss fight in the
those of
campaign,
you
by the way.
remember, Astaroth is
This is
somebody we've
this was my
faced down
favorite boss
before
fight
Diablo
in the
4,
entire
but
Diablo
he's
4
got
campaign.
a bit of a backstory that's pretty
Same.
important to Season 9. So Astaroth is the Charred Duke. He's the guardian of the Cathedral of Hatred. He serves Mephisto. Somehow, not sure entirely how, but somehow he escapes hell, and he starts laying waste, burning down Scotland.
That's a great way to add
Wants to
lore
make
into your
it his
story.
own
No idea how he
private
hits
Not
up
sure
here,
how it
but he's,
happened.
he's here.
Clearly,
Hopefully they're
you
just
know, the
saying
druids of
that to
Scotland will not
not
put up for
spoil
that.
things.
Right.
And so,
But if
they partner
it's
up
actually just
with a
unexplainable,
Horadric
I'm gonna be a
mage
little
named
salty.
Donan, which we will see in our next slide here. Now, Donan, here he is with those Horadric mages, or rather, with those druids. He's the
That's a
mage.
cool sketch.
They band together and ultimately defeat Astaroth. Now, well, sort of, because much as
It's Adam's
what happens
cynical
with
of like
powerful
looking to see if it's
demons,
like
I love how he
instead
has
of-
to like
Donan
re-talk
decides to
about what
trap,
happened in the campaign
Astaroth
because
in
it's
the
been 2
Soulstone
years and nobody's
and
played the
buries
campaign
that
since.
Soulstone deep inside the earth. And as we all know, Soulstones are ticking time bombs. And so by the start of Diablo 4, that is the situation we're looking at. Needless to say, Astaroth escapes. We defeat Astaroth as the Wanderer. Donan suffers some pretty tragic losses, including his life. And so in Season 9,
And his son.
this is our starting point. And there's something else going on. Something else is stirring in Scotland, and it's up to us to discover what's going on. So, we are going to partner up with Briona.
I like how they're trying to be very careful not to spoil it. With
Yeah,
99% of
yeah,
players
he's
just gonna
sitting
press
there and he's like,
spacebar
I
through
thought he
Briona
like
is
forgot
druid.
what to say.
She's got some
He's like,
history
oh
with
yeah,
Donan.
I forgot
Doesn't
this part of the
particularly like
script.
it.
I think it's
So
just him
you'll
like
learn
trying
more
not to
about why
spoil
that
something. He's
is
like
as you
really having to
travel
be
with
careful
her.
about what he says.
And your first stop on
Which
your
is funny because
travels
everyone's just gonna press
Elven
spacebar through it and not read.
where there's been a lot
Dude,
of demon
imagine if like
activity,
Diablo
you need
4
to save
decided to
some
do what Path of
villagers.
Exile does with
And at
Jonathan and
Eldheim
have like
Keep,
an
you're gonna
actual
make some pretty
script and
important
just fucking
discoveries for
go.
the season.
That'd be
I think
great.
we have
I
some
love how
time.
I love how GGG does that, dude. They're just like, all right,
So
guys,
up
this
in
is what it
Elfheim
is, and they
Keep,
just fucking
you're
script
going to
it
be entering
for
the
like the
keep,
first 20 minutes,
and
and
on
then
the
they go,
floor
all
where
right, well,
there's some
welcome to the
demons
chat.
fighting
All right,
over
let's
it,
talk
you're
about what's
gonna
going on.
see
That's like
what is
perfect,
known
right?
as a Horadric Wayfinder. And this Horadric Wayfinder
Yeah, I like how
But-
GG does
is,
it a lot.
Yeah,
pretty
GGG
special.
does it way better.
It's going to help you figure out where there are Horadric secrets buried deep within Nightmare Dungeons, and it's going to tug you in those directions and provide you clues and hints. So we'll see a little bit of that in action right now.
Am I gonna have to sit here and watch him do this dungeon?
Now,
Okay, there we go.
as you get closer, a Horadric totem is going to reveal itself, a gateway. And upon clicking it, you've got to fight a couple of enemies that are guarding it. But ultimately, you're going to discover that it opens a portal to an unknown part of this particular dungeon. So once we're defeating these enemies, we'll see the portal, and then we're going to jump right through.
I love how they're showing Druid gameplay because the Druid's the most unplayed class and so fucking broken that it's so bad compared to every other class that they have
so
to
now
like.
we're inside what is
Same
known
with
as
the
a Horadric
Necro.
Strongroom.
Oh my god.
Now, first up, you're going to learn a little bit
So what we call
about the
Let's
representation
show
right
our
here.
let's show the class that
We've got a
everybody
pillar
plays
here,
and then the class
and
that
this
nobody
pillar
plays.
is going to help you gain more of what is known as attunement.
And they're using Sever.
Attunement
Okay, I like the fact that they're
is
using
the
Sever. That's
score,
pretty cool.
essentially, for the strong room. And as you gather more,
They're not
it's
using
going to
minions
boost
with it.
your
That's
rewards.
an
But
upgrade.
before you get into the actual strong
All
room,
right, so we get to the portal, we
you've
kill
gotta
stuff, and now
choose
we
what
have to
kind of
choose which
test
one
you
we're gonna
wanna
do.
take. And in
Okay.
fact, you can choose up to 3 tests. These tests are going to modify the strong room in some way, whether boosting attunement or giving you swiftness or varying up how the shrines behave in the strong room. So we're going to pick
Okay.
3 here, and that will modify our run coming up.
So this is just like a
So we're gonna
rehash
jump
of
in, and now we've got a timer.
It's
Timer in
like
which to
Infernal
kill as many
Hordes
enemies
and
as we can to
Nightmare
improve
Dungeons
our
combined.
might through
Undercity.
Horadric.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you're right.
so
That's
we're
exactly
playing
what it is.
around that pillar again. It flashed, which means we got the bonus. And now any of the enemies we kill at this point will give us additional attunement. And you
I like
notice on the
this.
side,
You know, this
the
is
UI, we've
actually
got
going to be
a
very
great
fun for the
UI
first
here
2 days.
now. There are 6
Yeah,
levels
I like
of
this.
attunement
It's going to
that
get
you can
boring
achieve,
because it doesn't scale
and
up,
each of
but
those
I think it's
increases
actually going
the
to be pretty
amount of
fun for like
rewards
the
that
first
you
2 or
get at
3
the
days.
end. So obviously you're trying to not only kill as
I bet you the
many-
XP in here
many
is pretty good.
enemies
Look
as
at the density.
possible, but maximize that attunement through clever use of those pillars we mentioned before, shrines, the tests you selected at the beginning.
So what,
and
they're
so
like
forth.
combining the Gauntlet,
Now,
Undercity,
at the
and
end, you're
Infernal
going to
Hordes. I
fight
mean,
a
that's pretty
boss.
cool.
In this case, we're fighting the
I like
Pyroclast.
this.
Yeah, no, this is
And
good
that's just the
content.
final
They just
skill
need to
check
make it
before
scale.
we
That's all they need to
spawn
do.
the Grand Horadric Cache. The Grand Horadric Cache has a lot of cool legendaries, and it also has a buff on it that will encourage you to finish the rest of that Nightmare Dungeon. But also importantly for our conversation, it's going to have something else. And that something else is an escalation sigil, which you'll see in your inventory here.
So that's how you get the
This
escalation
escalation
sigils.
sigil is important because this is the other big gameplay system that we've introduced permanently for Season 9. So,
Okay, all right, I'm gonna pause it real quick just to make sure I understand, and like chat can like confirm with me, just to make sure I'm like understanding what's happening here. So essentially, you start a Nightmare Dungeon, and in the Nightmare Dungeon, there's gonna be this Horadric Strong Room. You go into the Strong Room, you choose your stuff, you do it, and then when you complete it, you get this legendary escalation sigil as well as something else to like makes you want to complete the Nightmare Dungeon, because that's probably the only reason you're there. So they have to give you incentive to complete the Nightmare Dungeon. And so they give you this little buff that hopefully like incentivizes you. Sure, cool. But then you get this escalation sigil, and now we're at this point. Am I understanding that correctly
Yep.
so far? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
You got it.
Okay. So haste. Like from Path of Exile. It gives him haste.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. So it's adding a positive and giving you a negative. Cool. Are you scaling the difficulty?
Well, it says each dungeon are deadlier than the last, so I imagine the
Yeah,
last
but
dungeon.
is deadlier than the last just the negative affects, or are they actually scaling it as well? That's what I want to know.
Oh, well, they call it escalating nightmares, so I would assume escalating implies
I would hope so. I mean, like common sense says that, but
it's.
okay. Oh, so there's a Strongroom in this. This is like a long activity. Why not the same fight? Nobody remembers the original.
True. Oh shit. This guy's just getting kited out. When you're getting kited by a druid, that's kind of sad.
Oh shit! Sorry guys.
And get new
I don't know how I turned that off.
things
Hey,
like
thank
that
you for
modify
letting me
the
know.
fight even
You should be able to hear them now.
So
Let me know
we
if
really
you can.
tried to make this kind of a unique twist on a boss
I don't know
fight.
how that
Oh,
turned
have they
off.
not been able to hear me?
Yeah, no, they haven't been able to hear the stream. I'm sorry.
And
My
with
bad. My
that,
bad. I thought
I think
I can't. I don't know how to turn that
covering
off.
the Nightmare Dungeon section of this update. So I'm going to kick it over to Aislinn, and Aislinn is going to go pretty deep into spellcraft and jewels.
That fight
Yeah,
looked pretty
absolutely. Thank you
underwhelming. I
so
can't
much,
lie.
Dan.
It
And I'm
just
so
second phase was just
Yeah.
like run 3 steps, attack, run 3 steps, attack. Like,
so here's the thing, right? When it comes to content like this, you got to understand, like Diablo 4 is made for the casuals. Let's not try to fucking like go anywhere backwards about it, right? You can't make these fights that difficult because that's not what this game is tailored to do, right? So, like, yes, it's a pretty easy fight to do. I think that every boss fight in Diablo 4 is easy to do. Even Lilith. I think here's a fucking hard ass take, right? And fucking fight me if you want, but straight up, Lilith is so much harder, or sorry, Lilith is so much easier than fucking Lachlan. Act 1 Lachlan is harder than Lilith. Like that's
yeah, but when they were talking about like, oh, we're revamping this fight because it's a rematch, and then it's like he literally just doesn't hit you if you just move. It's like,
yeah.
okay, at that point, really don't talk about reworking and making the fight interesting if it's literally less interesting than the campaign fight.
Yeah, it's just a case of like Diablo, the whole game is all about just like casting your spells and just like watching damage go. There's not a lot of actual interaction with enemies dealing damage to you other than just like affixes and stuff like that. Like there's no like, oh shit, I need to dodge this thing, right? Path of Exile, there's a lot of, oh shit, you need to dodge this thing or else you're gonna die. It's just made for a different type of player base. That's all it is. So like that's the reason why it's as easy as it is. And revamping, I think what they said was like, oh, instead of you having to dodge to the left, you have to dodge to the right. Oh, instead of you having to walk up, you have to walk down, right? Like it's not that they're making it harder. They're just changing what it's doing, and that's all they mean by it.
Excited to go.
All right, I'm gonna go to the
Nightmare
bathroom real
Dungeons,
quick
those
because I
strong
already
rooms,
know pretty
and
much all about
especially
this. We'll see if there's
escalating
anything
sigil,
new. I'll be right back.
dungeons,
Let me
because
know.
it's going to be freaking huge burst of rewards. It's going to be great. It's going to be hard, too. Those Waller elites are going to be a pain.
Yeah, especially when the affix stack up run over run throughout the Escalating Nightmares. It's going to be quite intense by the end.
It can get very intense.
That boss fight will be crazy.
Intense. So yeah, now these are going to present their own sets of challenges. So of course, we need to utilize the Horadrim's power in order to overcome those challenges. So with Season 9, we have Horadric spellcraft. So there's a lot of different components to Horadric spellcraft. So we're going to go over a quick overview and then dive a little deeper into how exactly it works. There are 3 different things that comprise the entirety of your Horadric spell. You're going to be crafting a Horadric spell in Season 9. You're going to need a catalyst. The catalyst is effectively the core of the spell. It tells the spell that it's going to be a celestial storm of stars, or it's going to be a beam of arcane energy that disintegrates your foes. And then secondarily, that catalyst needs to have a damage type. So you need to infuse it with one of 5 different elemental damage types. These can be fire, lightning, frost, and poison, and I'm not going to remember the last one. And yeah, so that determines the elemental damage type of the spell, and it also gives it some nifty extra effects too. And then finally, there's Arcana, which are just like extra bits and baubles you can add to go even further into customization. So like you can probably imagine, this is the build your own spell kind of power. And each one has a ton of unique utility as well. You're going to be able to disable various enemies, elite affixes. You're going to be able to garner powerful
Anything
effects
new?
for your own build, like vulnerable or crowd
All right, I'm just
control.
gonna fast forward
There's
then.
tons of video to kind of show this, but basically you assign.
Yeah. We already know all about these guys.
It is called Arcana.
Yep,
Season
already know
spells
about
also
this.
apply vulnerable for pretty
Let me just go
and
live.
increase the lucky hit chance of your catalyst. Spoiler: your catalyst has a lucky hit chance, which can be really, really useful.
Except that it has a
Now,
fucking
we
locked
also
cooldown
have
that isn't
some
modified by your
fancy
cooldown
arcana.
reduction, so
These
woo.
examples are magic and rare arcana.
Here, one sec,
but
I'll be right
the
back.
Nightmare
I'm gonna
Orb
grab a
is
drink.
Legendary.
Do your thing.
So legendary arcana is a bit different in that each of their effects differ based on which catalyst you apply them to. So these 2 tooltips might look the same at first glance, but they're actually for 2 different catalysts in the game. The left-hand side one is specifically for propulsion. So it causes propulsion to additionally fear enemies, and while they're feared, they periodically explode, which we will also check out. It sounds very scary, to be honest. And then on the right-hand side one, we have the disintegrate version, which causes them to take way more damage while they're feared from the actual catalyst effect, which is pretty great. So let's take a look at what this looks like in action. So we have a Spiritborn here who has the Nightmare Orb equipped to propulsion. Boom, propulsion explodes everywhere. They are all freaking out, they're feared, and they're exploding.
So
even
in
more.
what
To
world
be
would you
honest,
ever
I would
want that
also
to be a
probably
thing?
be feared if I was constantly exploding. So that makes sense.
Like in
And that
what universe, guys, honestly, do you ever think that you would ever want to get things to spread out? That's just not a good design.
is the quick and dirty overview of the Horadric spellcraft system. There's a ton to experiment with in this system. Can't wait for you guys to dig into it. There's so many different combinatorics, so many different possibilities. So go wild, go crazy, try everything. It's a blast.
Yeah, I really love how you can customize it, not only in like the effect of the spell, but also like how you use it, right? They do have cooldowns, but then you can assign it to any one of the skills on your hotbar. So cooldown that you're gonna save for that right moment. Or if you're just trying to really optimize its damage output and its DPS, you just put it on your basic or core skill that you know it's gonna come up very often. And you don't need to really think too hard about it, it's just gonna trigger when it triggers.
Yep.
It's true. Like the crazy amount of combinations that come from the system. Like I know I said on the PTR stream, and I feel like the people who have played the PTR
All
will be
these
advanced
options
because
and none of them
I feel
matter
this is
because
something
they
there's a
don't do
patch that
anything.
Just can't do justice. It's going to be very hard to read through that.
Damage is going to
and
be
get
in the
examples of
catalyst
how you can
ability,
use
the
your
catalyst
craft and
utility.
craft
Like
through this.
casting
So
the catalyst
it's really
does
something
this
you're
for
gonna
you.
need to
Like
jump
gives you
into the game,
unstoppable,
get
gives
your
you
hands
movement
on,
speed,
and
gives
then
you
really start to
resource, right?
tinker with, because
Like
there are some
the
incredible
catalyst
abilities.
itself
So
isn't doing
if you
jack
have-
shit.
if you have played
The
PTR
catalyst
and you know the
activating
systems,
and
then
then
you've already
with the
got a good understanding
arcana
of,
giving
knowing
you
how
the
HP
utility
works.
is what's going to
true,
be
that's
what it does. So
And there's
the
not
catalyst
just
itself
that.
doesn't
You know,
do
you
jack
thought
shit.
That was enough Horadric magic.
It used to,
There's
and then they
more.
nerfed Siphon and
Throw another
Gizmo
layer
and
on. Why not?
Propulsion,
Yes,
so
there's
that won't be a
also
thing anymore.
Horadric jewels. So Horadric jewels are powerful gems that you can use
They
to
nerfed these
augment
too.
your Horadric spellcraft and your character's build even further. So when you go into these strong rooms, once you're in Torment difficulty, whenever you complete one, you're going to find a Horadric tome. And this is
All right, I'm
knowledge
back.
that
Did I miss
Horadric has
anything?
stored away
Not a
to
goddamn
craft
thing.
These really powerful
Wonderful.
Horadric jewels. Once you find the tome and you use it, you can go to a crafting station and then with gem fragments and the seasonal currency, craft Horadric jewels. They're crafted with Horadric vials and gem fragments. It's not as many gem fragments as it was to craft occult gems, so it's not quite as a massive grind as it was before. And they're specifically socketed into amulets and rings. So you have 3 sockets that are specifically designated for this, which means that you can have up to 3 Horadric jewels. And here we have an example of a Horadric jewel. You know, it gives you some good stuff, core stat, max life, and you're going to be hunted in Sanctuary's darkest places. Well, that doesn't sound great.
I don't think you need to worry about that. No.
Yeah. No,
Shouldn't be
that's-
anything. I'm sure that's just flavor text, right? That's all.
Oh,
that
yeah,
is.
yeah. No,
Man.
that makes sense. Cool. Anyways, yeah. So
This hurts.
let's talk about the how you craft Horadric jewels with a little
What
short
does?
video to.
Just
show
the
us.
way they're like talking to their audience
So we
means
have
that the
Horadric
majority
button
of their
area here, which
audience
is where you're gonna
is.
go to actually craft the jewels. We're going to navigate to the craft jewels.
It's like being an
section.
adult and watching
We have
Dora
them
the
neatly
Explorer, bro.
organized among different categories to help you just,
Yeah.
pick
And
through
then
it
you
all
and then you
pretty
look to your
easily.
right and you see your kid is
And
losing
we
their
got quite a
mind,
few of these. You
and
know,
they're
I
like
think
super
there's,
excited and they're like,
six-
the
I wanna
map,
say
the
16
map,
in
and you're
total,
like,
but there's
oh my
16
god.
Horadric jewels. So whenever you go into a strong room, you're going to find more tomes. which,
Weird, because
you
you'd think
craft
people who
more,
come on time
yeah.
for a
So here
Season
with
7,
our wonderful Stalvar, the Awakened Armor,
reveal
we can
live
craft
stream
an
would be the
idol
kind
from
of people
below.
who would keep
So
up
we
with the
need 15
PTR,
Right.
so maybe
of
we
3
could sped
different
this part up a bit.
fragments, and then
Right.
3,000
The
of
people who are
seasonal currency,
watching your
and
campfire chat and
voila,
are reading
we
the
have our
patch
idol
notes,
from
the people
below,
who
which
are
is fine,
actually like
because there's nothing wrong with this, and nothing
not
bad's going to
the
happen from
audience
this
you think
gem
they
at
are.
all, so it's no problem.
That's okay.
You'll also
Let them do their
notice
thing.
that
I'm just
it
being
gives
salty, guys. Don't
you,
mind me.
bonus armor and resistances, so you're not actually missing out on any of the bonuses you would typically get to your defense from normal gems being socketed in those slots. But yeah, so wait, what's this? It sounds like the idol from below is actually
I'm hearing
not
that's
great.
not actually just flavor text. It
What?
might be functional.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. Oh no. Okay, so when you have the idol from below equipped, sometimes mummies will spawn. They're the jewel guardians that are guarding this jewel, and they will attack you, and they can be very scary. So be very careful if you decide to equip this jewel, especially if you're playing hardcore.
So because
My
this is a
goodness,
jewel
please
that
don't
buffs
pick
your
this
main
jewel if you're
stats, the
playing
only time
hardcore
you're
or
going to be
expect
using
to
this
die.
jewel is when
they
you
don't
have
just
everything
spawn when
built and
you're
you're
alone in an
overpowered.
empty
So
room.
these
Sometimes
guardians
you're in the
don't do
midst of an
anything.
already big pack or a boss fight even,
Yes.
and these guys will come out trying to get their jewel back from
They're
you.
really good
It's pretty spooky. But you can
when
do
you're
some
pit
very
pushing
clever things with
because
these
they
guys.
give
Sometimes
progress.
It's actually really good to have extra bodies to be able
Oh,
to
do
hit
they?
for like whatever
Yeah.
skills or
That's
triggers
pretty
you
cool.
have, which is pretty neat. So yeah, let's move on to
That's
our
pretty nice.
final section here for the overview, which is PTR learning.
Do they count as like elites?
So we learned
Yeah.
so
Oh, that's
much
super
from
sick, actually. Never
PTR.
mind, I take it all
We
back.
can't talk about every
Saltiness
single
is being
thing, 'cause it's
removed.
tremendous
There,
list.
desalinization is
But
happening.
we do have some highlights we wanted to talk to
I've
you
actually
guys
died a few
so
times, like the
first of all,
poison one
going
specifically.
over,
That guy is a little
Horadric's
bit
spell
overtuned.
Hmm.
So we have made it so all of the deactivation effects that you get from infusions and various things, 3 seconds longer. So when you do actually
Ooh.
deactivate an enemy effects like Waller or Chilling Winds, etc.,
That's so good.
it's going to last 8 seconds, up from 5. This is because we want to make sure that it feels as punchy as possible. When you do get that deactivation, you have a good amount of time
10 out
to
of
take
10.
them out and
That's gonna be good for pit pushing.
Secondly, we want to talk about the change of Siphoning Gizmo to Sharpened Gizmo. So we found that Sharpened Gizmo was challenging for us in the sense that like we want to maintain the competitive integrity of the game. That's like really important for us. And Sharpened
Right.
Gizmo was
About that.
Siphoning Gizmo.
Yeah. Okay,
Sorry.
sure.
Was probably
How about you?
Sure.
How about you work on your class balance
Yeah,
first
good
before
fun
you
that
work
can
on your
occur
competitive
anyways.
integrity?
To be
And we
fair,
also saw
to be fair,
the
this is the
Sharpened
season they
Gizmo,
nerfed
which is a good
overpower.
one,
So like,
as
if
an
there's ever a
opportunity
season to
for
say that,
a
it's
more
this one.
physical-focused Arcana, because we knew that that was kind of missing from the PTR, and we heard a lot of feedback about that. The next thing I want to talk about is the propulsion teleport change. So this effect caused you to be able to teleport effectively infinitely in a lot of builds. And it was transformative, and so transformative to the point that it was actually stomping on build identity.
I agree.
In many cases.
I
And
agree.
We really want you to experience the full breadth of what different characters can offer
I
in Diablo
agree.
4. We don't want it to all be condensed down to like one thing, right?
Right.
when you're playing a different class and a different build, you want your gameplay to feel meaningfully different. And these, the Horadric spellcraft here is kind of a complement on top of what you're already doing. It's a unique utility.
I agree here, guys.
An interesting wrinkle to your build.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
I
on
think the
PTR, we found
propulsion
this
thing,
particular
it just
teleport propulsion
completely, what's the
interaction
word?
was,
It
basically eclipsing everything else.
Yep.
not
And every
muddied,
single build, if
it
you just, like, look at the
diluted.
clip
That's the
of
word.
different
It
people
diluted
playing
different
different
class
classes,
variety because
they'd look
every
different.
build was
Yeah,
using it,
that's not
and
exactly the kind of gameplay that we
it
think
didn't
is
matter
helpful
what
for
build you were
Diablo.
using because
Yeah.
the
We wanna
catalyst was
make
the
sure
thing that was
every
doing
build
all
has
of the
a different
damage. You just needed
silhouette.
something
It
to
feels
like
very different
kickstart the
texture.
damage,
So that's
and
really important.
it just did everything for you.
Another thing I want to talk about is that Disintegrate has a much wider area.
Why can you
now.
barely
Before
hear
it was kind of
them?
a tiny little beam
Let's
between
try this.
you and the
That's as loud as I
Disintegrate
can get it,
thing,
guys.
But now it's much bigger, so you should be able to disintegrate many more enemies with it, which is great. And then beyond that, there are tons of miscellaneous changes to Horadric spellcraft.
Like
so
I got
go read the
max
patch
volume
notes after
here, and I
this
got
check
max
it all
volume
out.
here. They're just
if
quiet.
you've never read the patch notes before, and especially in the blog as well, anything you see that's colored in blue are all changes that have been made since the PTR. So we've gone through, read your tons and tons of feedback, and there is just a sea of blue throughout the patch notes and the blog. Patch notes will be publishing following this stream, so go check those out and check out all the blue because those are all the changes that you've all influenced. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right, so moving on to Horadric jewels. So the first thing, we added an entirely new Horadric jewel. It's called the Will Breaker. It speaks directly to physical damage. We heard that a lot of Season 9 is focused on elemental damage, which is amazing and awesome and wonderful. But we also wanted to give physical builds some love and some tools to play around with. So the Will Breaker does specifically that. So if you want to smash people with your hammer or blow people up with,
I
bones
see
of
it?
necromancer or whatever, that's for you. And then secondarily,
Fuck me, I
liminal
guess.
No,
access,
we
fuck,
which is
fuck me, I
the
guess.
cheat death jewel, will not be dropping in hardcore. We heard a lot of feedback from the hardcore community that it maybe went against the philosophy and
It does.
the spirit
I'm glad they're
of
doing it.
hardcore.
Good.
So we really wanted to respect that. And this is also an ongoing conversation about what is the spirit of hardcore. So please keep giving us feedback about that. It's been
What is the
super
spirit
helpful,
of hardcore? Don't
and
die.
we want to hear more.
That's the spirit of hardcore. What
And
the
then
fuck?
finally, of course, there are also many more
Don't
Horadric
die.
jewel changes, more miscellaneous stuff. So again, after this, go read the patch notes. And with that, I believe I'll be passing it over to Dan to talk about a myriad of changes with everything else.
Yeah, a myriad. So y'all had a lot of feedback on the Nightmare Dungeon updates.
Good. Let's go.
I need a piece of paper to read them all off. I can't keep them all in my head.
Okay,
So,
that's fine.
first up, let's talk about the Horadric Strongrooms a bit. So the Horadric Strongroom UI was not clear enough. And so we added a new UI to the Horadric Strongrooms. We added extra kill count messaging and extra timer warning. So it plays much, much tighter now. When you enter it, you should be able to pretty much pick up what's going on. Now, we're not going to tell you how to get those high scores, but the fact that you should be getting a high score should be pretty apparent now. Pillars didn't feel great. You had to stand in one spot for a long time in order to get the bonus. So, we've made the pillars faster to complete, made the radius a bit larger, and now all 4 pillars will also be available at the start. So you can better choose what your path through the Horadric Strongroom is going to be. We also heard from a lot of you that the Strongrooms really didn't support blasting well enough. And that comes in 2 flavors. It comes in challenge, and then it comes in the fact that Strongrooms were overstaying their welcome a little bit. So we've added a pit-style death penalty. If you die,
I thought you
that
said pit
timer's
scaling.
going to get knocked down, and you're going to have less room to earn.
Ugh, I thought you said pit
We've
scaling.
added additional ambushes as you
Okay.
your
Not it.
attunement. We set the activity length to 100 seconds instead of 120 seconds. And also, if you should hit that max attunement, we're not going to force you to run out the timer. We're just going to spawn the boss right then and there. Now, a number of you also commented on Blood Bishop again. So we hear you. We built out a pool of bosses, mini bosses rather, that should spawn at the end of the strong room. And there's actually going to be a surprise or 2 in that pool as well. And then finally, there wasn't enough incentive, we thought, for you to actually complete the Nightmare Dungeon after doing the strong room. So we've added a buff. Now, if you remember from the footage, you saw the Grand Horadric Cache. It actually had a buff symbol above it. And so opening the cache
Okay, but this
will
isn't
give
the
you that buff,
escalation sigils, right?
and
This
you
is
can
the
carry
strong
that
rooms
buff
to get the
through the
escalation
end
sigils, right?
of your Nightmare
Correct.
Dungeon
So,
run,
okay, this
and
is
get
fine.
a bonus on the
I
rewards
need the
that you'll get there.
escalation sigils to be the things
Now,
that scale.
let's talk about escalating nightmares a little bit.
Here we go.
Come on.
By far, the biggest amount of feedback was, feels pretty rewarding, but way, way, way too easy.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
we have gone and made it more difficult.
Okay. What does that mean?
We have scaled the difficulty
Huh?
by several pit tiers every
Ooh.
floor you advance.
Ooh.
So just naturally, things are going to get harder, and you're going to have to push a little bit more and more. We've
Great.
increased the amount
Okay.
of health and damage
Okay.
for Exalted
Thank you.
Astaroth and the Amalgam.
Thank you.
We have made some of those existing negative affixes a bit
Scales by
meaner.
5 pit tiers
We've
every single
also
time you advance.
resurrected and tweaked some of the
Fantastic.
previous negative
Beautiful.
affixes that
Thank
launched
All I
in the
needed to
base
do.
game.
That's it. That's
Finally,
it. Season
I mean,
9. I'm
really, we
coming.
just
I'm coming,
did a
dude. That's
whole
all I
audit
needed to hear.
on
Thank
our
Negative
negative
God.
affixes gone,
affixes,
he's
but
been
we
cleansed.
created
Thank
a bunch
God,
of new
dude.
negative affixes as well, including some pretty fun ones, we think. So, yeah, let us know what you think, of course, about the difficulty of that moving forward in any of these, because again, these are permanent
Yeah,
updates.
it
so we
needs to
wanna
be
make
like
sure
pit
that
80,
they,
bro.
you know,
Like
really
like
feel good.
level 3 on Torment 4 needs to be like pit 80.
Other
Make it
things
a
real quick
fucking
that we did.
challenge.
So we boosted the scalable rewards to match the increase in difficulty. So as things are getting more difficult, we still want to make sure that the rewards are keeping up, that we
Good.
don't tip in the other direction.
Yes.
It was a little hard to notice the gizmo that's on the floor that allows you to jump to the next dungeon. So we just opened the portal automatically, which you saw in the footage. The escalating sigil didn't stand out enough, so it's got a beam now. It's got its own art, so that feels pretty good. And then finally, we had asked a question during the PTR. You know, do folks want to have to wait until Torment 1 in order to be able to do escalating nightmares? And we heard from you, and you said, no, we don't want to wait. And we agree.
True.
So we actually created a pre-Torment version of the escalating sigil. It's not as rewarding because you're not in Torment.
True.
And it won't feature the Astaroth boss fight at the end. The Astaroth
No, but it's
boss
still
fight, the
it's still
Exalted version
content.
has
I like
been
that's fine.
tuned specifically for Torment. So we wanted to make sure that that was preserved. But still, you should get a good sense of escalation pre-Torment if you're lucky enough to encounter one of those as you're leveling up to 60. And that's it for the list here. Again,
Fantastic.
All
please
right.
keep giving us feedback.
Pause. Okay. So like this is a really big thing that Diablo, like Blizzard, has not done. I would say multiple seasons is where people come in and go, the game is way too easy, and they never tried to make it harder. Now, I don't know what the pit scaling is going to be. It could be that it only goes up by like 2 or 3 pit skills every time you go into the next one. So like, oh, the third one is only twice as hard. It could also be that it goes up by 5 pit levels every single time. So the third one is actually going to be like 8 times as hard. I don't know. But the fact that they are at least going, yo, we heard you on the fact that it's too easy. We are increasing the pit scaling every single time you go into a new floor means that you can't just run things like propulsion builds. Like if propulsion was still a thing, you couldn't run that build and like actually do the escalation sigil. You actually have to have a build that does some type of damage rather than just going full blown blaster mode. And that actually makes the content worth doing because you're not just building a speed build and a pit pushing build. There is now a mid-tier build that you have to have. You know what I'm saying? So you have a Torment 4 open world speed build. You have a pit pushing end game super damage build, but now you need a mid-game build that combines a little bit of both of those so that you can actually get rewards in the escalation sigils. This opens up a shitload of variety in terms of the class builds that are going to be viable to the season rather than just going juxtaposized in speed or power. This is a very, very good thing. I'm very happy that they're doing that. What do you think, Kay?
No, this is everything they needed to do. I'm happy.
Good.
We love to hear from you, and we want to keep improving the game. So back over to you guys in Irvine.
Fantastic. Thanks for walking us through that, Dan. And yeah, I mean, it's been, we had the PTR early in June, so it's been a while since we had it, but yeah, we received such a ton of great feedback.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, Dan, like it sounds awesome. Like the strong rooms are punchier, the escalating nightmares are more nightmarish, and you know, Dan made a great point too. Like those are going to be permanent additions to both, excuse me, eternal and seasonal realms. So we do really want your feedback on that because it is going to be an iterative and then permanent permanent part of the game. So we do want to tweak it where possible and get those in there.
Yeah, it's super important that we get the new Nightmare Dungeon stuff and the escalating nightmares really down well. Because we want it to be a repeatable thing that you're doing pretty consistently.
I think the design of
escalating
Nightmare Dungeons
when you are doing
really,
that
really
kind
cool
of stuff
idea.
fairly consistently, it needs to feel like really punchy. It needs to feel really smooth. So it will be a very iterative process. We will be taking a look at more feedback coming in and probably making additional improvements to it over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And
fantastic.
Dan
New
will
content.
be coming back
Thank
for
God.
Q&A at the end of the stream. So we will be grabbing your questions then. And I did want to call out Mac Hayes from chat when Dan was going through the Horadric Strong Rooms, said, blast me up, Dan.
Jordan will talk about that in a little bit, but
I'd love to
yes,
see that in chat.
there's quite a few more
But
in-game
in
content.
terms of more changes coming down the pipe, probably our biggest, most substantial part of the patch notes is always the balance changes that we have coming in. So Charles Dunn, take us to the promised land. What balance changes?
All right, this is the part that
All right. So the first part I said was new content. Class balance, probably not. New content, sort of, right? The escalating Nightmare Dungeons was new content, but it was like what happened with Bungie and Destiny 2, where it's like, there's all this shit to do, but none of it matters, right? And this is the kind of like what fell into Diablo 4. There's all this shit to do, but none of it really matters, so you're stuck only doing really 2 or 3 activities. Escalating dungeons and the way that they said that they're increasing the difficulty and the rewards and how it functions means it's legitimately a new thing, like Infernal Hordes. It is going to be a new content, so that's good. I actually like hearing about that. The next thing that we're talking about is class balance, because holy fuck is it a disaster. Here we go.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about all the
All I'm looking
class
for,
updates that we
buff
did
bad
for
builds.
Season 9.
That's it.
And so my
Yeah,
section
don't
I'll be
nerf-
talking
don't nerf
about,
good builds, buff
some
bad
of the new
builds.
stuff that came in that you may have seen on the PTR.
Meaningfully.
But also talking about some of the adjustments we've made since the PTR. Some of the learnings, some of the feedback we've gotten, and how we've iterated since
Buff
then.
overpower.
So at a high level, there's a few
Don't walk back the
broader
overpowered
initiatives that
nerfs.
we've done that really affect all classes in some ways that we're doing here for Season 9. The first one you probably saw a lot on the PTR was a basic skill buff.
Not enough. They were not
listed
enough.
about basically every basic skill in the game, and most of them were buffed rather dramatically. Some of them,
and it was
2
not
or
enough.
3x their damage increase.
And it was still not enough.
The impetus here was that we wanted to look kind of comprehensively at the game as a
they
whole, the
buffed-
wider balance. And
Yeah, they need to do that.
all the
They need to do that to
basic
core.
skills
They need to do that to
where
core
they
skills.
should
Is what they
in
need
terms
to
of their
do.
overall damage output,
Core
But then
skills.
they
and
nerf-
how they fit into builds.
they
and
nerfed
really
all
they were
the
just,
aspects
like,
of
Yeah,
well behind the
exactly.
curve.
Yeah. They
We
buffed
want
all the
them
basic
to
skill
feel
damage
much more
basic or
impactful,
base
be
damage,
a
but then
bit
nerfed all the
more,
fucking
feel
aspects.
better when you first get them, but also be easier to kind of build around as you go and build up your character.
Bleh, don't care. Move
We
on.
buffed up the baseline versions of a lot of these skills, but we did take a look at some of the legendary and unique aspects that interacted with them. Our goal wasn't to be like, oh, basic skill builds, kind of like we saw with Spiritborn and a Barb in the past. We didn't want those to be like, oh, here, this is we're making them the new meta.
Yeah.
This is more around like rebalancing the whole game as a whole. And we started with basic skills, trying to establish a firm power budget for them. And we're going to be looking and doing these kind of passes on other categories of skills, such as core skills, ultimates, etc.
Nice.
In future seasons. That's going to be like an area of focus for us moving forward. We're
Okay, but
starting
not
here
this
with
season.
basic skills.
Yeah, it's like a
Great.
health pass really on basic skills, and we'll be taking more looks at more categories.
Right. With the from the PTR, one big thing we noticed was that Pain Gorger's Gauntlets, one of the unique items that really empowers these basic skill builds, was definitely not living up to its billing. It didn't crit or overpower whenever its damage kind of echoed out, and
Right.
it's supposed to be like a multiplier on your basic skill damage, but really it fell a lot short. So we've made an update so that now Pain Gorger's Gauntlets is going to be able to crit and overpower just like your basic
Oh my
skill
God.
damage. So that should
Wait, say that
Gorger's
again?
Gauntlets is going to be able to crit and overpower just like
Ooh.
Ooh.
Pain Gorgers is now going to make basic skills crit and overpower. Oh boy. Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, that's what
oh.
the basic text needed. Okay, that changes a lot.
Oh, the meta is gonna get flipped on its fucking head, bro. That's a massive multiplier.
Yeah,
That's like
what basic skills
10
are.
pit. That's like 10 pit tiers of power. Oh boy.
Oh, okay, that changes some shit.
Okay. Yikes. All right.
your basic skill damage. So that should definitely be a huge.
Oh, and Jordan, I'm reading you. Yeah, that's just Diablo 4 when you're an elitist player, and I would argue that Path of Exile 2 is no different. Right? The problem is you have best in if you're like a giga fucking elite player with Path of Exile 2, you actually are just like fully geared in 2 weeks. It's the same fucking thing. The thing is that Path of Exile 2, it has like a different multiverse in its endgame, right? Like it just goes fucking into the stratosphere with how bad how strict the endgame can go. There's just so much that you can do so beyond that point. But you get to a point to where like that type of power creep takes so long to do that very, very few people are going to interact with it, right? So like, yes, I agree. Path of Exile 2 in 2 weeks, like you kind of reach a point where like, okay, I'm kind of done, and the only thing that I can get upgrades are very small upgrades. But when you compound those small upgrades over the next 4 weeks, you actually do like 3 times, 4 times more damage than what you did in the past. But it's so slow that a lot of people don't play it anymore. It's the same thing that Diablo 4 has.
Boon to those types of builds.
Yes.
Speaking of overpower, though, overpower was overpowered, and we have done some nerfs to it. For the past few seasons, overpower-based builds have been definitely dominating the top of the meta, and it was definitely crowding out builds that really couldn't utilize that, things like dot-based builds or others.
Yeah.
Right.
So with that in mind, on the PTR, we tested an 80% reduction in the additive damage calculation of overpower. Not to get too in the weeds here, but there's kind of like an additive amount of damage that's based on how much fortified life and maximum life you have built up. We've just removed that completely. We tried an 80% reduction in what it was, and we decided it's still too strong, it's still too complicated, and we just removed that portion. So now when you overpower, you're going to do up to 50% bonus damage, just like a critical strike, but that's kind of going to be the end of the calculation there. We still anticipate, if
Holy shit, no way. They're making it so that overpower doesn't scale with health and fortify anymore?
So they went even further than what they did.
Oh,
So just crit.
wow.
It's just the X50.
It's just
crit
50 and the additive damage. It's just another form of crit, and it doesn't scale off anything else.
Well, the additive damage is what you got off fortifying HP. So
yeah. So they just took it away. They're just like, yeah, your health pool and your fortify just no longer counts. Just doesn't do jack shit.
There's no additive
damage.
Just the X50.
Wow.
Thank God.
That's
God.
wild. That's wild.
They went even further than what we thought they were going to do.
Yeah,
number hits
damn.
are still going to be when you crit and overpower at the same time, but it's not going to be that you must overpower or else nothing else matters.
Right.
It's just going to be in that same kind of bucket as critical strikes.
Yeah, there's a certain point where something becomes so powerful that occurs, where it's like, if you didn't do that, then nothing else matters.
Thank
and that
God,
starts
that's
to
so
kind
good
of
for the
erode the whole game experience.
Yes. And finally, we did a pass on all the key passives in the game. Much like the basic skill kind of audit that we did, we looked at all the key passives and really wanted to
Yeah, did you? Did you really look at all the key passes? Because I don't know if you looked at the Necromancer, but you didn't do jack shit, you fuckers.
look at some of the ones that were...
Then why even have overpower? Why not just get rid of it? I could be reading this wrong, and I'm super out of touch with the meta right now. So the thing is that like overpower is still very strong in the sense that like the multipliers to overpower are so much stronger than the multipliers that you have for crit, right? And there are certain builds that really dip hard into the overpower thing. Necromancers, druids, barbarians, right? They really dip hard into overpower. And essentially the way it works is that like they can't overpower every single attack, but having that overpower happen needs to matter. The problem was that the way that it was scaled, it was either you overpower or you don't do jack shit. Now what they're saying is, okay, now when you overpower, it's going to be a bonus, but it's not going to be a nothing or bust kind of thing, right? It's your damage is not going to be so egregious when you overpower, because it used to be that like, oh, you hit for 100 million with a crit and then you hit with an overpower and you were hitting for like 900 billion, right? Like it was so egregiously like fucking bigger than anything else. So they just nerfed that shit in the dirt and all the multipliers, so that now when you overpower, it's still a nice bonus like when you crit, but it's not the end all be all, right? And so that gives more class variety. Now builds might be building into other things other than just trying to strictly empower the overpower, right? That's
if builds can overpower, they're going to do more damage than builds that can't overpower because it's an X50 multiplier. So like you know, the question is like, what's the point of overpowering anyways? It's just like, it's just more damage if you do, but the damage isn't. You can either do it and you're viable, or you can't do it and you literally can't play the game.
Yeah, so
Right? It's just a nice.
Yeah, so overpowers right now, the way that they work is like, okay, they're going to do like 3 times more damage than like your regular crits, right? And so like, what about a build that doesn't do overpower, it just does crits? Crit-based builds are focusing on one thing, and overpower builds are focused on another. Overpower builds are focused on crit base damage, right? And then crit builds are based on crit and attack speed. So what happens here is that like, okay, yes, an overpower may deal 3 times more damage than a crit now, but the crit-based builds are designed to attack and apply 3 times as many damage instances as overpower. And so because of that, they're actually kind of on equal grounds. An overpower build is whoop, boom! It's like a big fucking hammer smash because it's an overpower. And crit-based builds are, I'm just going to hit you with so many fucking hits. And then dot-based builds are functioning even faster than crit-based builds. They're like, hey, I can't crit, but I'm dealing so many instances of damage that I'm able to equal out your damage. That's essentially how they're doing it. Like, that's how they're building the design of it. And it's a very good path that they're going, but it still needs work. There's still a lot of balance work that needs to happen with that because dot-based builds still aren't quite there.
Outliers, they caused some of our builds that were 10, 100x stronger than other builds. A lot of times that came down to key passives that were scaling or interacting in ways that gave you far more benefit than some other key passives on other classes. And so some of those ones that had kind of that uncapped scaling, we added in caps to make sure that they don't get completely out of control. And ones that were like definitely underperforming, we did some rather substantial buffs to them to help bring them up to kind of parity.
Really? Because you didn't do jack shit to a necro. That was fucking embarrassing. What you did to the necromancer was fucking embarrassing, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. Take off your pants and make a noose.
Across the board.
Let's see what they do with
in-game.
the
Like, fuck, dude. It was so embarrassing. It was such a fucking... It was so insulting what they did to the necromancer key passives.
So
let's see what they do
I'll
with the
touched on that a little bit later as we get into individual
post
classes.
PTR buffs.
So let's get on to
I'm withholding
individual
judgment, so let's
classes,
see what.
starting
Yeah,
with
we'll see what
Barbarian.
happens.
So our goals for Barbarian this season is definitely a meta refresh on exactly the Barbarian meta. For the past few seasons, we've seen a lot of Earthquakes, a lot of Dust Devils, a lot of the Summons being really dominant. And those are cool, but a lot of the Barbarian's core fantasy is around hitting people with weapons. And so we decided, okay, we need to do some nerfs to Earthquakes and some of those other effects that aren't quite as physical, hitting with weapons, and buff up things like Whirlwind and Hammer of the Ancients that are a lot more core to Barbarians, base fantasy.
Absolutely.
With that in mind, we also got the new unique item, the Hooves of the Mountain God. Let's take a look at that here. This is the new unique boots item that is going to allow your basic skills, which I just talked about, to cleave. So once you hit maximum fury, Story of Fury,
we're not a Barbarian stream.
Wanted to look at. I'll get more into that.
Right, they're talking about
PTR.
we already saw this in the patch notes.
A variety of buffs, specifically to golem builds, bone builds, and shadow builds. Some of these builds were definitely falling behind the rest of the pack. Way too much for any one skill. It dealt damage, but then it gave you a barrier, it gave you resource, it gave you transfers as well.
Yeah, we want to give you all the tools you need to solve.
Yeah, giving us more options by nerfing the best option just seems like an ass end fucking way to do
Okay,
this.
no, they went too far with it, but like Soul Rift needed changes. It like
no, I'm glad that's fine, but like you didn't you nerfed Soul Rift without giving any compensatory buffs on anything else. That was the problem.
Now Shielding Storm's back in the meta, so like you can play, if you need Essence, then you can go Soul Rift. If you need defenses, you go
your problems.
Bone Storm.
We don't want
you
you
know,
to solve
so like we
all
got that
your
option
problems
back.
through one of your.
So that is diversity.
Another exception over.
All right.
We hope that some of those other builds look. So if you go all in on your mages, you sacrifice your warriors, you level up.
Yeah.
This will be a
So
fun game.
they attack 25
Yeah.
and deal bonus action.
That'll be good.
Minion necro on its head a bit, whereas your minions are often in the front line for you, and then you pump out the damage.
Hey Otter, can you share more about what they did with Necro? Season 8 Necro was strong like Bloodwave. Yes, we will talk about it later. K is like the necromancer fucking dude, so he's like he knows pretty much everything about it, but I know a little bit about it as well. We will talk about it after the stream.
Damage in this kind of
And
Or
mages
after
aren't
their
good
live
at
stream,
that.
not
Yeah,
live stream.
after the live stream.
You got to figure that out yourself.
All right, we've got the rogue up next.
No one cares
I
about
just
the
wanna
road.
wait-
down the death to give you.
I just
so
want to
it's
wait until we
similar to
get
that-
the
that
post PTR patch notes, because what we
Yeah.
might say changes depending
have
on the
reworked
patch notes that we
into
get.
this
So
one,
we'll go more in depth
So
when we can
the
look at
death
everything.
mask, you can now overexert yourself while casting flurry, and
You know what? They're talking about Rogue right now, so I'm just gonna mute it. We can just talk about Necro as they're going through this shit. Okay, so what's happening with Necros? There are two builds, right? It's Bone Spear or Blood Wave, and that's it, right? Like everything else is kind of like bleh, right? Now with the PTR, we did have a couple more options, and they weren't like super far apart. Like Blood Wave and Bone Spear was so far ahead of everything else. The issue,
Okay.
the issue is that like a lot of the builds really struggle to do like Pit 100. Wait. A lot of the builds really struggle to do things like Pit 100 to get your glyphs to Pit 100, even when you were Paragon 300 and had access to level 100 gems, right? Like you had level 100 Paragon glyphs, and you had 300 Paragon points, and you had Giga Gear, and they still struggled to do Pit 100. So it's like, okay, so what build can do a Pit 100 without that? And it was still Bone Spear and Blood Wave. That was the answer. And so it's still kind of locking the meta, even though they did buff a couple things and they brought them closer together. So the other three builds, I would say, Kay can confirm this for me. I think the other three builds that were kind of keeping up was going to be the new Dot Necro, the new Shadow Blight Necro, and the Mage, the Mage Necro. Dot, Shadow Blight, and the Mage Necro were the things that kind of sort of kept up, but they still struggled to do Pit 100.
The dots were not able to get to Pit 100 or even
Okay.
close to it. They were just like worse than Shadow Blight. So Dot's going to completely fall out of the meta, especially with the gizmo removed.
Right.
There was Sever doing pretty well. That got, I think, to Pit
one of the big
99.
ones.
It didn't quite
Lightning
do
Spear
100,
has
but
been kind of dominating the
99 was
sorcerer's
good.
meta for quite a while. It was like really the premier build
Minions
for a
are
long
looking
time.
really good.
And this had a really interesting situation where
Let's see what else was there.
Bone Spirit, but the speed Bone Spirit build looks great.
Oh yeah,
Now that they
Pretty
nerf propulsion, that build is number one.
do anything. And then you get
That is the
Splintering
best
Energy,
speed build,
the
now that they nerf
legendary
propulsion.
aspect, and suddenly it goes from nothing to best skill in the game.
Yeah, and we don't want skills out of the box to feel useless. We
Right.
want them to feel powerful and good. And we also don't want aspects to have to carry that much weight on their
Yeah.
shoulders. It's not good for either the base skill or the aspect.
So in this season, we've buffed up the base values of Lightning Spear rather substantially. I think it was like a 4 or 5 times increased damage. But we've looked at the Splintering Energy legendary and brought
It's
that
still
down
the best
rather
speed build.
substantially.
It's the best
To be
tournament
clear
force speed
here,
build
our goal
by
is
far.
still that Lightning Spear, we do not want it to be the best way of playing Sorceress. It has had its time in the sun for a few seasons now. It's really been, I think it's time for some other options to rise up and be like some of the stronger builds on Sorceress. We still want it to be a viable way to play. We don't want to completely kill it to nothing, but it shouldn't be the absolute dominant or strongest way to play here Sorceress moving forward. To that point, we've updated Icefall and Firestarter. Icefall is a legendary Paragon node that works with your Frost skills. Those cold skills are going to do quite a bit more damage with this. So just some numerical buffs there. And the Firestarter, that's a legendary aspect that works with your flame skills. You know, the other two builds outside of Lightning on Sorceress. Firestarter previously just did kind of a chunk of moderate fire damage, but wasn't anything special. Now it also gives you multiplicative fire damage, which is really good if you are picking, say, the Fire Infusion Catalyst for your Horadric spellcraft.
Oh, true. Or some crazy new unique that might be making its way into the game.
Yeah, a crazy unique like the Ophidian Iris.
Oh, whoa.
Let's take a look at the Ophidian Iris. This is the new unique amulet that works with your Hydra.
So we're gonna have to take a look at what they're doing with the patch notes. But this got buffed. They replaced Devouring with Primordial Binding, and they replaced critical strike chance with attack speed. I think they fucked up because the problem, I think what they said was this consumes, it's like Bone Spirit. It consumes all of the mana in order for it to function, right? And we had to basically figure out how are we going to get our mana back to consistently cast this Hydra to do like speed builds and stuff like that. And now what they did is they said, okay, we'll just take out Devouring Blaze and we'll give you GA Primordial Binding. 6 ranks to Primordial Binding, bro, is like an ungodly amount of damage when you have 10 Conjurations out. It's like insane. It's insane. It's it's way more than what Devouring Blaze did. But at the same time, it's also giving you like 3 to 4 times more mana regeneration because it gives you damage and mana regeneration. So they were just like, yeah, we're just gonna buff Hydras, even though Hydra was the best build for Sork. So it's just like, what? So I'm very curious to see what they're gonna do with the PTR patch notes because, like, really?
Hydra skill. It makes Hydra into a core skill, and it's always going to summon a
Attacks is really
three-headed
nice, you don't have to
Hydra,
break
and
ones.
those Hydra's attacks explode on impact. Now, previously, you could build up effects that gave you more heads to your Hydra, and for every head above 3 that your Hydra would have had, instead it grows in size and deals multiplicatively more damage. We tested this out on the PTR, and one of the big points of feedback was that there's kind of 2 ways of building Hydra. You can build with more crit focus, like crit
Or
and
burn
fire,
damage.
or more burning damage focus.
Yeah.
And previously, the affixes on the Ophidian Iris really tried to force you into the critical strike version of the build.
Yep.
And we've updated them here, so we removed that critical strike chance and added attack speed, which is good for both.
And now it's a burn build. Oh, I'm so playing.
And changed
I
the
love burn builds.
ranks of the passive over to Primordial Binding, which is once again good for both, rather than giving you the critical strike pyromancy effect. Just being a bit more generic and allow you to play it whichever way you like and kind of equally support it.
Yep.
Let's take a look at
Burn
these clips
is
of
going
the
to be
before and
awesome.
after in this terms of size. So on the left, you got your little piddly normal-sized Hydra. If you build up a whole bunch of bonus Hydra heads, you get the big boy Hydras on the right, whose attacks explode on impact. Obviously, they deal a ton more damage. They kill the enemies much faster. And it just looks a lot bigger and a lot more visually impressive.
They are absolute units.
Imagine
really
the
are.
best.
You get to
Imagine the
become a
best
vegetarian.
minion
Also,
build in the
honestly,
game
I've
is on
never felt
Sork.
bad for a Khazra test dummy before.
Yeah, I mean, we've
I
had
feel
season
kinda
for the
bad
best
this guy.
summoner build
Yeah.
as a barbarian using the fucking mech, so, you know.
I'm really looking forward to playing with this one
Yes.
next season.
Construct.
Yeah, this will be,
I
this is
remember that
exactly
shit,
what we'll be
dude.
running for season 9 trials.
It's not the first time.
All right, let's move on to the final class, Spiritborn. So has that
All right.
PTR.
No one cares.
PTR is that we're allowed to make these a bit like more dramatic changes, and then if they don't work out, we'll revert.
All right, so we don't care about Spiritborn. What do I need the patch notes to form an opinion right now. What about you?
Yeah, I'm just waiting on the patch notes.
Yeah, I need a patch notes to form an opinion.
We thought, okay, if we adjust its cooldown mechanic, that will be what we need to change. So instead, we looked at some numerical adjustments to it, so it doesn't have quite as many bonuses whenever it does function, but it still functions the same as before.
Yeah.
And in order to promote a bit more diversity, we've buffed up the other ultimate skill options. The other 3 Spirit Guardians now will give you other ways of giving multiplicative damage whenever you have them active. The Devourer will give you multiplicative poison damage. The Gorilla Ultimate, the Protector, will give you bonus damage while you stand in his area that he's pounding down on, gives you that area of power. And the Seeker, the Eagle Ultimate, will give you guaranteed critical strikes while it's active.
Awesome.
And finally, we've got the new unique item, a Balazan's Max Latel. We've got, I've been working on that pronunciation.
nice.
So good.
Been working on that one. Nailed it. All right, so Balazan's Max Latel. We've got, let's take a look at that. This is the new Pants unique. It triggers when you attack enemies who are close, it'll trigger your Thorns damage as poisoning damage. So it's like poison and Thorns combination here. And every time that you've retaliated with Thorns, so you've gotten hit recently, then that poisoning damage is going to increase.
I really love this unique because it speaks to the spirit of Thorns, which is like, I must be hit and then I retaliate.
Right.
But like expands on that, which is really cool.
Yeah, and it gives you more consistent value. Like if you're not getting hit, your Thorns was worthless. Now you building up Thorns is still positive offensive value, even if you're not getting hit. But of course, getting hit and triggering those Thorns is going to get you even stronger. On the PTR, this was definitely very powerful.
Very powerful.
It is very interesting to combine Thorns into poisoning damage with then Scales and Noxious Resonance, which turns their poisoning into a crit damage buff. Weird. That is a wild... Dude, I swear to God, like... Spiritborn's wild in the builds that they make, man. They're just like, yeah, I deal physical so that then I can deal poison, so then I can deal crit, which then transfers into overpower. It's like... it's a very weird chain of multipliers that Spiritborn functions under.
Very, very strong. We did adjust its numbers down quite
They're a
substantially.
wild ride.
They are a
the
wild
percentage
ride.
of thorns converted has been reduced. We still expect this to be a very powerful build, but it's gotten brought down a notch or two because it was by far the most powerful build that we saw on the PTR.
Yeah.
All right, we've got a clip of this in action here. Right, so you're standing in the middle, you're getting hit, you're clicking your defensive skill so that you can survive, and then once you get hit and stack that up, you can go around and apply bonus poisoning thorns damage to all the enemies around you.
That is really
Idiots.
cool, man.
Where are they even
Hang on,
getting
that is
it?
actually
I don't
really
know.
cool.
All right, and so that covers.
Yeah, so it's
all
like
of the
Thorns
class updates.
transfers
Once
into
again,
poison
make sure
damage,
you
and they have a
check
passive
out,
called Noxious
the
Resonance
patch
that
notes
consumes
after
all of the
this,
poison
live stream here.
damage
Check out the
to
blog.
crit
It's got
for
all
a
of the details.
multiplicative amount.
I kind of glossed over some of them because there's so many details to
So,
go into.
yeah,
Go
the
and check
Thorns
those out
turns
for
into
all
a
of the
crit
very
multiplier
specific
based on your
changes,
poison
that
dot
we're making
damage.
come season 9,
It's
and
really
can't
wild.
wait for you to see to try out all of these new effects.
Woo! Thank you for that, Charles. Take a bow. Yeah, the patch notes are absolutely massive this season. They won't be hitting in all languages following the stream. We're looking to have those published just prior to the start of the season on July 1st. So some languages will be available, but expect most of them. A little bit of frosting and some sprinkles just to finish it off. So I know, Aislinn, you've got some nice little tidbits to get into towards the end in terms of system updates. So what can we look forward to in Season 9?
Yeah, so not only have we done all these awesome, specific Season 9 things, we've also done our best to improve the game eternally or in an evergreen fashion or permanently, however you want to say it. So yeah, a big thing that we learned from Season 8 is that we really like it when we feel like we have different ways we can play the season. So in Season 8 specifically, you went into the Apparition Incursions, and it sometimes ended up feeling while you were leveling like you had to do it a bit more than you actually wanted to. Like you'd rather go do some other things. And so the way we want to change that in Season 9 and going forward forever is elites and bosses are now going to grant seasonal reputation regardless of what the season is. It doesn't matter what the season theme is. You can always make progress towards reputation by killing those strong enemies. So that should make it so it doesn't matter if you're going to the seasonal activity, you're still going to make progress. The seasonal activity or whatever exists in a season will still be a really fantastic source of that specific seasonal power and rep and currency and what have you. But we want you to feel like you can just take some detours and explore the game at your own pace and in your own way.
It's always going to be
the
dupes, bro.
season still recognizes
They're going to
that.
figure out. They're going to figure out a dupe
Similarly,
method,
we
and
had
that's what you're going to do.
layer hordes grant seasonal currency in Season 8 specifically because it was the season of bosses, but we decided to just keep that going forward because basically all roads lead to layer bosses now. Like you're going to find layer keys by doing a variety of activities. And so it felt like a very ubiquitous place for us to imbue seasonal currency into the game as well. And this isn't to say, this isn't an exhaustive list, right? Oh, I gotta wave over here. This isn't an exhaustive list. You are still gonna be earning extra seasonal reputation and seasonal currency from doing seasonal specific stuff too. So it should just be a much larger pool of ways to play. But yeah, so with that said, let's jump into some of the permanent details or permanent changes and details of the Nightmare Dungeon and Escalation Nightmare systems. So Dan already went over this quite a bit, but I wanted to just talk a little bit more about the why and the how of this all. So we added a bunch of new affixes, positive affixes to Nightmare Dungeons. And the reason why we wanted to do this is because we wanted to make sure that when you're sifting through your different Nightmare Dungeons, it feels like you have different options for how you can make progress for your economy. So you'll notice that these blue affixes, like the Horadric Materials Reserve, Gem Reserve, Gold Reserve, they're pretty self-explanatory. If you go into those dungeons, you are going to get more materials from the chests that appear, or more gems, or more gold. And there's quite a few of these different positive affixes. And the big impetus behind this is we really wanted you to be able to sift through your Nightmare Dungeons, find the gap in what you're currently looking for. Like, for example, if you want to craft a Horadric Jewel and you need gem fragments, go find the Horadric Gem Reserve Nightmare Dungeons and run a bunch of them. And so hopefully this is like a tool that you guys can utilize and really patch up those problems. And secondarily, we also know that if players are going to be going into Nightmare Dungeons much more frequently going forward, that there should probably be a lot of replayability and variety in the negative affix experience too. So it kind of feels a little different and cool. So we really took our time we kind of rebranded, rethemed a bunch of the affixes. We added a bunch of new ones, like Dark Omen is specifically an entirely new one. So be careful going into one of those dungeons. And we also added many more of the potential elite affix, the elite affixes that can appear on Nightmare Dungeons, like for example, Waller, Vampiric is another one. And this is all just, again, to make Nightmare Dungeons feel like there's more variety as you're playing through all of them. Awesome. So yeah, I think we can go forward here and check out what a actual Horadric Reserve looks like. Just as a PSA, so if you go in and you're chomping through a Nightmare Dungeon, that's what a Horadric Reserve will look like. So there will be a bunch of those throughout a Nightmare Dungeon. Make sure to open all those to get your nifty new positive affix rewards. And then on top of that, of course, we have the new permanent addition, the escalating sigils, which are just Nightmare Dungeons, but even
they're permanent.
punchier. So as Dan was saying, we made it so you're getting even more rewards from these things as you're escalating. They're going to raise in difficulty as you go through each escalation, which I would like to point out does mean that you can surpass Torment 4 with these now, which can get very terrifying. And there's also unique affixes that can only appear on escalating sigils. And here we have the actual Astaroth affix, or rather the Astaroth list of affixes that we're going to be dealing with when we fight Astaroth. So Dan kind of alluded to this, but we can see that one of the negative affixes here is Meteor Storm. That's an Astaroth specific affix. And that actually changes the way the Astaroth fight works. And there are quite a few of these. So every time you go in and fight Astaroth, it's going to feel a little different. There's going to be different challenges you have to face. And there's also going to be a lot of really fantastic rewards that he drops too. Like, for example,
if
the Riches of Keys gives you...
sigils actually get hard, then having a different boss is actually
and Lord Zier's Offering gives you...
kind of a big deal.
Quite a few keys to go and fight Lord Zier. And, it's all modular, it's all randomized, and it's a lot. It's a lot of rewards, which is great. But it's a lot harder too, which is also fun. But yeah, so that's the overall on these Nightmare Dungeon and Escalating Sigil things. And I just want to say, as one last thing, like I mentioned before, this is something that we want to continuously improve upon because it is such a major new thing. And like we knew that Nightmare Dungeons needed some love, and we're really happy we got the opportunity to do that here. And we want to continue to foster and cultivate the system going forward. So please, any more feedback you have, shoot it our way. All right, and with all that said, let's move on to some more general quality of life updates to the game as a whole. So first of all, here we have the legendary item drop updates. So typically in Diablo 4, what we've done is when you go up in Torment tiers, you find more items, but we've decided to make it so you also find a higher quality of items when you go up in Torment tiers as well. This means that as you go from Torment 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, you are going to find more ancestral items and thus also more greater affixes. We wanted to do this because we were finding that people on higher Torment tiers, as characters were getting to 2 and 3, etc., the loot wasn't quite keeping up with the state their character was in and what they expected to receive. And so we're trying this out, and let us know what you think. And I just wanted to do a quick call out that this also applies to lair bosses. Like, it applies to everything, but I wanted to specifically call out that it applies to lair bosses, which is great because now we're going to be finding more.
Maybe I can spend less time in Duriel jail
too.
or Belial jail, whatever you want to call it.
Let's move on to the resource economy. There's quite a few of these here. So first of all, we saw that people were not finding as many legendary runes as they would like. It felt too sluggish to get through that journey. So we've kind of done quite a few changes to that overall. Now the Tribute of Harmony, which is specifically the tribute that grants quite a few runes, will grant even more and a higher quality of runes. All Undercity tributes, not just the Tribute of Harmony, will also grant runes. So if you're finding yourself light on runes, going to Undercity is typically a really good place. And then finally, we also
I can get behind that.
It's okay. It's going to decrease the cost of the runes on the trade side.
Which makes it
runes to drop from
which makes it less costly to craft.
So just kind of all throughout the game, that's just a bit.
But then once you have the mythics and you're grinding for these, it also makes it less profitable so that you can buy your Belial mats.
Much more lucrative. The material
But if you already
caches are
have
more
your
lucrative, the
mythic
gem
uniques,
caches are
then
more
you don't really need to buy
lucrative. A lot of
biomaps.
ancillary
but you
stuff
do,
just
because you're not
feels,
just trying to get
better
like one
and are
mythic
better
unique. You're trying to get
choices
mythic
than they
uniques
used to
that
be.
have like 2
We want to make
GAs.
sure that when you're actually looking at
Sure.
the potential whisper caches, that each of them feels like it would actually make a difference. And so that's the big impetus there. We have made our jewelers across Sanctuary adopt more business-friendly practices. Their cash is no longer quite as ludicrously expensive, and it also drops significantly more rings and amulets. So
Okay.
they're a little bit nicer
That's
now.
nice, because it used to cost 100,000
And
gem
then
fragments for
Infernal
that shit.
Hordes
It's
also
wild.
is going to be dropping more gems. And then finally, something we wanted to add here is there's going to be increased drop rate for Scrolls of Escape, specifically in Hardcore. We found that you weren't getting quite as many as we would like you to in that
Hardcore's
mode.
hardcore,
And
brother.
so we want to make sure that you have just
Giving
enough
them an excuse to not
go
die
and
is kinda
test yourself
meh.
against those really challenging lair boss fights when you feel
Yes.
like your build is ready. All right, and let's
I'm not
dive
a hardcore
into
player, so I'm not even going to try commenting on if
yeah.
that's good or not.
Yeah,
I'll let the
I guess.
hardcore
Our
players
next
decide.
slide here. So, this is just to go over basically, this is a lot of information. So let's just talk briefly
They're just
about
PSAing it at
what
the
is
very end in case
permanent
people
and
didn't
what is
stay for the entire
exclusive to
stream.
Season
I love
9,
it.
Just kind of as a recap.
Jesus.
So, permanent to both the Eternal and Seasonal realms, now and forever, we have the Nightmare Dungeon updates. So you are going to be finding Horadric Strongrooms on both the Eternal and the Seasonal realms. You're going to be able to go into escalating nightmares in both.
That's waiting room, dude.
You're going to find all these new Nightmare Dungeon affixes and escalating nightmare affixes permanently in the game. And of course, all the new uniques for each class are permanent. And then exclusive to Season 9 is the quest line, Exploring the Sins of the Horadrim. The Horadric spellcraft, you know, the catalysts and the infusions and the arcana. The Horadric jewels. And then, of course, the seasonal reputation board and the rewards from that are exclusive to Season 9. All right, so that about wraps it up for the Evergreen updates here for Season 9. And just to kind of touch on the PTR and the learnings and kind of our thoughts and our culture on PTR. So we already kind of went over the systems updates that were changed since PTR. I'll go over them again very briefly. So lair bosses now have an increased chance to drop legendary runes. There's a increased drop rate to Scrolls of Escape and Hardcore, and there was the massive pass on all things Nightmare Dungeon to improve the tuning and make affixes meaner and stuff like that. But I just wanted to take a moment to say that the PTR for us as a team is just amazing. We really cannot stress this enough. Like when the PTR goes live and you guys start talking about the game, the air in the office is electrifying. We're all so excited to see what you guys have to say. And we're just,
And yet it takes like
running
4
around, we're
days
talking
to
each
fix
other,
like a
we're
major
oh,
bug
like, this is, did you see
on the
this? Like,
PTR
maybe
that
we should
affects
change
everyone
this,
with
or,
like the
et
rerolling
cetera, et
shit.
cetera. And it's just great.
It is
It's
what it is.
great for the vibes. It's great for the game. And just a heartfelt thank you from us to you for helping us make Diablo as good as
probably
it
not
could
their
possibly
priority.
be.
Yeah, we absolutely love reading all
Yeah,
the
but when you're talking about
feedback,
like, oh, how
watching
amazing the
videos that
PTR
people
team is, it's like,
post
dude,
or,
the
you
PTR
know,
was
posted online on
genuinely
social
almost
media or other
unplayable
places
for like 4
feedback
days.
It
on
was.
our forums. It's really amazing to see players like trying out the new stuff and giving feedback on what's working, what's not. And then we really do listen and adjust based on that. We try to find the best ways of delivering a really high quality experience every season. And the PTR is
Being
really
able
instrumental
to
for us
have players
to be able to
jump
do that.
in, test
It
the content,
absolutely
also
is,
gives us such a
and, like,
better
this
feel for how
season
things are
was
going.
wild for PTR updates. We
I'm
made
not
so
doing
many
it the second
changes,
screen, but I'm
and
waiting for
it was
Twitch to say
just
like,
super
oh,
helpful
questions,
to
because I
hear
have a
everything you
question. I'm
guys
going
had to
to
say.
hopefully see what.
Yeah, thank you so
can
much
get
for
it.
that. Like being
I can,
able
but,
to have players
I don't
jump
know if
in,
stream
test
can.
the content, also gives us
all
such
the
a
better.
problems addressed. We've got
Feel
feel for
bugs
how
that are-
things are going to go in season launch, so then we know we can take a confident step forward, knowing that our players who are just diehard Diablo 4 fans have given us their greatest feedback, and then when the season launches on July 1st, we now know that we already have all these problems addressed. We've got these
All right, I got to actually listen to
a
this.
lot better, so thank you for that. And that brings us closer to the end of our show. We've got some excellent Q&A lined up for you, so we're going to bring Dan back from Alabama, and we do have a few questions lined up. The first thing that we do want to ask our devs here is, for the Horadric spellcraft, are those powers account bound? Are they partition bound? or do you need to level them up specifically for each alt?
Yeah, so they're going to be partition bound. So on, for example, seasonal softcore, if you make a new character, you'll have all your progress from your previous seasonal softcore character. So it's partition bound. If you make a new seasonal hardcore character, you would have to find the new Horadric spellcraft, but then any future seasonal hardcore character you make would have access to that same progression.
Awesome. Nice. Okay, we've got our first question coming in from the Sanctuary Discord. Getty asks, how does the team currently feel about boss design? Are invulnerable phases something you're looking to continue with in future bosses? And that's an interesting one because the Astaroth fight that just came back does have some interesting mechanics that aren't quite invulnerability, but it's more of like a segmented phase. So.
Yeah. That's something that we've been talking about a lot internally, with the new changes to the layer bosses. I think it's something that sometimes it's important, like it's cool for like the vibes of the fight if a boss has an invulnerability phase, but we also recognize that like once you get to a point where you feel like you can beat a boss, sometimes the invulnerability phase can feel like an obstacle, potentially an unwanted obstacle. And so the team has definitely been exploring some ways that we can create that similar feeling without necessarily putting a hard stop on a fight.
Yeah, there's definitely some examples even already in the game where it's like, hey, if you're able to kind of beat a DPS check and you're able to get the boss like down to a certain amount or kill it before the phase, then you're able to do that. That's definitely one good example that we're definitely looking at.
Very non-answer.
Kind of replicating in some other boss fights.
Nice. Okay, Charmed Chaos. Does the Strongroom time count against the dungeon's completion time, or are they separate?
Dan, you want to take that one?
I'm thinking about this right now, and I am not entirely certain. My guess is that it does count towards the dungeon completion time, but yeah, I think we're gonna have to, go back to the team and post an update online about that.
Cool. I guess it's
a
a philosophical question of,
it's a very good
is
question.
the strong room its own realm? Like, are you,
Yeah.
defying the logic of where you are in the dungeon? Or, I mean, you do blast through it pretty quick, which is good. But then, you might take your time leaving it or going back in to find some more goodies. So, yeah, that's an excellent question. I've got another one from Why So Blue Panda Bear. Don't be sad, Panda Bear. At Diablo, do we still get Obdicite in these escalation nightmare dungeon runs?
Oh, yeah, you do. There's also even there is an affix that increases the amount of Obdicite you get. And again, also the escalating nightmare dungeon runs scale. So scale with rewards, and difficulty. But as you go up and up and up, you just get more Obdicite and the affixes become better. So if you find like the extra Obdicite affix later on, it's like showering Obdicite. It's a lot.
That's a great change.
That's absolutely unreal. This one's for you. Might be for Aislinn. The Bird King. Has anything been confirmed about GA or general greater affix rates going up at higher torment tiers?
Oh, yeah. So that slide we had talking about the increased quality per torment, they will be going up, yes. You're going to be finding more ancestral items, and so consequentially you're going to be finding more greater affix items and items with more greater affixes as well.
Unreal. Thank you for that, Aislinn. Scream Hard. At Diablo, question for Q&A. Will we start to see seasonal power systems incorporated into the base game? There have been several that I was fond of that could add depth.
Yeah, I can talk a bit about that. Obviously, every season when we make some of these powers, like the Horadric spellcraft or the witchcraft powers and the boss powers in the past, they were exclusive to that season.
Yep.
That being said, we are a team with a bunch of designers who are always looking for good ideas, and especially good ideas that have proven to work in the game. And so we definitely, when we're looking at making future systems and future improvements to the game, we are absolutely looking at some of the best performing seasonal powers and thinking about how we can integrate that into the game. So it's very likely you'll see some of the better received and more popular seasonal powers potentially return in the future. But for the time being, they do still exist just in their season. But they are absolutely still on our radar to bring back in other forms and other ways for future content.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do love, even for the season overall, instead of having seasonal powers that we have, and then look at the favorite ones, like such a massive part of the mechanics of this season are just already going to be permanent and in eternal and seasonal realms, which is so nice. So
It's true.
Yeah, really just those power systems are really the seasonal parts. And a lot of our focus on seasonal development is plussing up base aspects of the game, like the Nightmare Dungeon system as a whole. We're looking at making sure that part of the game is improved and is evergreen. And then a lot of the powers are things that are exclusive for the season, but we are still looking out for good designs and ways of bringing back the popular ones for the future.
hell yeah, absolutely, Charles. Mippy at Diablo, are the escalating nightmare sigils craftable or only droppable? Important question for leveling.
Good question.
I think I might send that one to you, Dan.
There's some good questions today in chat.
Yeah, that's another one I'm not sure about, unfortunately.
Do you
Wait,
play?
you're not
Do you
sure
play?
about
Do you
that?
play the
Only
season
be
at all,
able to
bro?
drop from the Horadric
That shouldn't be
Strongrooms.
one
That's
that you
when
don't
where
know.
You'll be
Yeah.
finding
Yeah.
escalation sigils.
Right.
Yeah,
And I
free
think
job, bro.
in
So I just to the point, if you want to try to be farming them, you can craft nightmare sigils,
Bureaucracy, bro.
trying to find ones that have the Horadric Strongroom
Yes.
guaranteed on there.
Right.
And then run the ones with the Strongroom. So it's a little bit, you can't maybe craft them directly, but you can craft ways of farming them.
You can definitely go out of your way to find Horadric Strongrooms, which then brings you to escalation nightmares.
Yeah, and if you're looking for those pre-torment nightmare escalation sigils, you're going to be getting that from the seasonal reputation track. So before you are pre-torment, if you want to play those and get used to them before you actually get to face off against Astaroth in post-torment levels, you will be getting that from the seasonal reputation track. So look out for those. The Creether. Cool name.
Ooh.
How do you come up with the names for your uniques? Some of them are really interesting, and some are hard to pronounce.
That's true.
Are the names coming from
Well,
lore,
Dreamdelights,
or
you
just,
wanna
did you find
ask
something cool
before
that,
they're
that
finished
ended up
answering.
fitting with the names?
A lot of times they come from a lore. A lot of our uniques are handled by our wonderful narrative designers and quest designers who really have a firm grip on the lore and the world building of Sanctuary and all of the characters and
Yeah, I think it's not gonna happen
and
for
factions within there. And so a lot of them do come from that. Some of them are a bit, maybe a bit more generic. I'd say like ones that maybe don't tie to a specific person, but a lot of them do, and that's handled by our wonderful narrative and quest designers.
Unreal. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, like Death Mask of near my truck.
Near my truck,
like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Chat was picking up also on the phonetic of it's near my truck.
Oh, yeah, it's near my truck.
That is how we.
We've been saying
Near
that
my
a lot.
truck, yes.
leading up to this stream. Awesome. Okay. Oh, Draketh90. Will you consider allowing other boss fights to be customized with affixes like Astaroth? Sounds like a cool way to keep layered bosses dynamic and fresh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're really excited about the system with Astaroth where he's going to feel different each time you fight him. So that's
What?
it lives and dies by like how much fun it is to go and do stuff over and over.
Do we
and so,
care?
That's definitely something that we can take a look at in the future, and like different mechanics to ensure that fighting layer bosses or fighting other bosses in the game.
You
feel
kill a
exciting
layer
and
boss in
different each
0.5
time you go in
seconds. Do
and
we
fight
care
them. And Astaroth
about
is a great example
the
of that.
affix?
And we're excited for you to try it out.
Unreal. And our last question comes from either Jajapur or Yayapur or
Last
Hahapur,
question. Oh, well.
depending on
Well.
the pronunciation. This one's for you, Charles, and it's less of a question, more of a request, I think.
Okay.
When can we expect more skill-changing uniques like the new Necro one? Give us one for multiple golems with a little smiley face.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, so obviously every season we are making a new unique for every class, and we really try to focus on giving brand new ways of playing or ways to kind of revitalize existing builds. Like obviously golem builds exist, so it is absolutely valid that we could potentially see one in the future that allows you to have additional golems. I can't specifically promise that
That'd be
just
kinda
yet,
hilarious, to
but
be
we're working on making brand new cool stuff every season.
Awesome.
That would be kind of
Sweet.
cool, though.
Well, that takes us to the end of the
Yeah, for each sacrifice you have, you get an extra golem. So you could sacrifice your mages and your warriors and have 2 extra golems. That'd be kind of cool.
all the things that you want to know about the game. So yeah, and that brings us to the end of the stream. Keep in mind, we do have patch notes dropping following the stream, so check those out for any changes. And we did have the season overview blog launch this past Tuesday. So for all the
They
needs,
could have
all the
ended
things
the
you
stream
want to know,
20
you'll
minutes
find it
ago.
there. But also, hopefully you've claimed your sorcerer staff already. But if you want more Twitch drops,
Did you
actually,
staff?
you know what? Before that, We sort of addressed this on the stream. Dan touched on it, but for
Nope, I have
season
not.
9, the pet that you'll be able to earn from the season
yes.
journey. Claim Iris if you haven't already, but this is Dante. So if all the keen-eyed viewers, you've probably seen Dante running around, begging for treats. This is what he'll do when you hit the pet emote. So here's
I don't know how I
Dante.
feel about that.
He is a good boy, even though he does look pretty menacing. He'll definitely keep people off your lawn, that's for sure.
This is where it would
But
be,
yeah,
right?
finishing chapter 6 of the season journey will earn you Dante. And remember, you don't have to complete all of the tasks in chapter 6. You just need to complete enough to hit the reward level. So yeah, be sure to go in and claim him. And if you haven't already, be sure to claim Iris for Season 8 Blyle's Return already. Here's our season overview. Take a screenshot of this. This is hosted on our blog. This gives you all the details you need for Season 9 Sins of the Horadric. Gives you a great overview look at that, so you can definitely check those out. And if you enjoyed the Twitch drops on this stream, launching with our season on July 1st all the way through July 19th, you can watch at least 3 hours of any eligible Diablo 4 content creator, and you can grab the Glensoul Arbalest crossbow for the Rogue. And if you want some more details on that, we've got a Twitch Drops blog publishing after the show. But yeah, 3 hours with any eligible channel in the Diablo 4 directory. And you'll be able to grab that sweet, sweet crossbow skin.
Yeah,
so yeah,
cool.
buckle up for that. And then we do have a very special delivery because also with July 1st is Charles Dunn's birthday. Yeah. So happy birthday to Charles
thank you.
Dunn.
Same
With
birthday
the
as
season
Adam.
start, we've got a very
Adam.
special cake presenter.
Thanks, Adam.
Yes, my birthday is July 1st, so
Yeah.
we're launching a whole Diablo season just for my birthday.
Yes,
so,
it's all for Charles Dunn.
Yeah. I was getting ready for right at the end, and then Adam popped in. I was like, okay,
Yes.
now it's cake time. So there's Adam.
Thank you so much.
It wouldn't be a stream without a surprise Adam appearance.
course.
I love that. So yeah, so you can celebrate the launch of the stream, and you can celebrate the launch of the season and Charles Dunn's birthday, which is fantastic. And then following the stream, if you did have some more questions or you just want some more Diablo 4 content, Aislinn Hall is going to be joining Nacho in the Sanctuary Discord for another edition of Burning Questions. So Aislinn's doing double duty today. Right after the stream, she's running back to her desk and then jumping in the Sanctuary Discord to answer all those burning questions with Nacho. And we will be rating Nacho's stream following this one, so you can stick around and just check it out here if you'd like that as well.
Yeah.
I do want to give a huge thank you to everyone involved with the stream. Thank you to production for putting everything together. Also, for those of you at home, thank you for being here and joining with us. I can't believe, I think Rich called it out. It's our 29th stream for Diablo 4, which is just crazy. Dan sticks around 3 hours later on the East Coast, so Dan's been staying up late with us throughout this week. So you all don't get to see how busy Aislinn, Charles, and Dan all are, and they dedicate a lot of time out of their schedule to be here. So we really do appreciate you being here, and thanks for tuning in. So yeah, July 1st, Season 9 Sins of the Horadric is launching. Check out those patch notes following the stream, and we'll see you all in Sanctuary.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Hooray.
guys.
See
Bye.
ya.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Time for the important part.
Yeah.
Patch notes.
The patch notes. This is the most important part. This is what we're actually here for, boys. As we're waiting for those, what are my opinions so far? I'm like 60% of the way there and wanting to play the season. The only thing that even drove me to be like, all right, now the season's playable again, is the fact that they're scaling the pit, like they're doing pit scaling on the escalating dungeons, but we don't know what the pit scaling is, because if the pit scaling is like 1 or 2 pit scales, then like, does it really
I think they
matter?
said 5, right?
They didn't say anything. That's what I heard. Unless someone heard something different, I did not hear anything. I claimed hopefully it is 5. I said hopefully it's 5, but I don't think they said 5. Now if it is 5, that'd be cool, because 10 pit levels, if we can do our little mathy math right here. 10 pit levels is 6 times harder. So, that's pretty good. It's not, it's pretty good. From base. So like it goes from a T55, it goes from level 55 to level 65 essentially. Level 70 is where like the mid game builds really need to like actually step up, right? So we'll see how it feels. I think early in the season, 65s are going to be a lot more difficult than people think they are, with all the nerfs that happened. like 100s are just really hard to get to, you know? Like people are really struggling to get to like 90s with like Paragon 300 and level 100 glyphs. So I think that, you know, these 65 and 70s are actually going to be harder than people think they're going to be. So hopefully this does something. We'll see. But it's really going to depend on the patch notes. Really, really going to depend on that. Everything else was like meh. But we'll see. So this updated because that said June 5th. Now it says June 11th. This is where we get it, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not being ridiculous. I don't think it is. When was? Okay, so this is the Belial's return thing. Dude, I don't think this is it. Hold on. Is this it? Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah.
We found it.
Can you like me it?
Sure. All right, guys.
Thank you.
There we go. Okay. Let me go ahead and turn this on.
Let me go link it in your Discord too.
Thank you. What? There we go. All right. So let's see what we got here. I don't care about the Spiritborn. I don't care. This Vessel of Hatred. This is Barbarian. Druid. Necromancer. Here we go. All right. Supreme Bloodlave. Number of ores spawned reduced from 3 to 2. Cold Mage, second upgrade. Previous, Cold Mage attacks make the enemy vulnerable for 4 seconds. Now, Cold Mage attacks makes the enemy vulnerable for 4 seconds and has a 10% chance to instantly freeze a target for 2.5 seconds. Okay,
Cool.
it's decent for leveling, I guess. Passive, Serration. Critical chance increase from 0.3 to 1%. That's pretty wild.
I mean, crit rate's not really the stat that Necro struggles to get.
No,
so,
but
yeah.
I will say that trying to get crit and attack speed is a hard stat for Necros to obtain. Like trying to get enough crit and enough attack speed to meet the breakpoints is kind of hard for Necros to obtain.
I mean, I guess it's nice for speed farming because you don't play Grasping Veins in speed farming builds, but for pit pushing, it's like, this is nothing.
Right. No, I get you.
But for speed farming, I guess this is like pretty relevant.
While fortified, you deal 6% increase to damage. You just deal 5% increase. So now because they've removed the fortify being a thing that overpowers, they're just going to give you that damage. All right, that's cool.
Sure.
That's nice. It means you don't need a way to fortify now. That's nice. Necrotic Fortitude, 5 to 7%, whatever. Ossified Essence. Damage per essence used increased from 0.5 to 0.7%. Cap increased from 100 to 140. Ooh, Bone Spear is looking good, baby. Bone Spirit's looking good. So is Bone Spear. All right, sweet. Okay. Affliction. Damage enemies take from you increased from 15 to 45%. Yeah. All right.
Still dog shit.
That's actually pretty good.
Still unusable. No, it's dog shit, dude.
But like for the other build, was it like the dot necro, right? Like you just took affliction, so like it's a nice 30% upgrade, whatever. Scaling percent increased from 30 to 120, base percent increased from 100 to 180, cap increased to 900%. Okay, whatever. So affliction, maybe. I don't know. Shadow Blight. Scaling percent increased from 20 to 70%. Damage increased from 300 to 450. Oh.
Okay, well.
Oh, Shadow Blight is going to be wild. Oh, let's go.
You were just talking about dot builds. Why would you ever play dot over Shadow Blight?
Oh, Shadow Blight is going to be wild. Oh, man. Oh, Shadow Blight looks so fun now, dude. Scaling percent increased from 20% to 70%, and the max is 300 to 450%. So they just increased the amount of damage that Shadow Blight deals by 50%. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Damage bonus on Blighted increased from 25% to 35% per fucking Shadow Blight that goes off. Oh my god, it's a 50% increase on the fucking blighted too. This is like, this is 110% increase in damage for Shadow Blight. This is awesome. This is like 5 pit tiers. This is great. All right, Bone Duster's aspect. Bone Spear is guaranteed to overpower enemies within Bone Prison and deals this. Now Bone Spear deals increased damage to enemies within Bone Prison, and the first Bone Spear to hit each enemy within it is guaranteed to overpower. Oh, they just took away overpower Blood Spear.
Wait, hold on. I need to reread this.
Yeah, so now it's only the first enemy that's hit. It's not all the enemies that are hit.
Oh no, Bone Spear is dead. Holy shit.
Yeah,
Bone Spear.
Spear's fucking current just gone. Okay, Archmage size slightly increased, not because unstoppable, and delay can now fire again reduced. All right, cool. Bloodthirst Scream. Increase.
People are actually messing around with this on PTR, so like this is actually sort of relevant.
Yeah, it's a Endura's memory. Adjust the tooltip for Endura's to clarify that only the player's bone spears can consume corpses. Okay, Paragon.
Oh,
Flesh Eater from 5 to 3. That's awesome.
Wait, hold on. I'm still reading Blood the Scream. Lucky at chance affix replaced with Lucky at chance 40% deal a shit ton of shadow damage. That's really
pretty good. That's pretty good.
Okay, sorry. Paragon Flesh Eater. What?
Yeah,
that's a huge.
That's a big buff. That's a big buff.
Oh, holy shit! Hulking Monstrosity's good now.
Now your Golem has 40% increased maximum life, and deals 100% increased damage. Skeletal mages and warriors sacrifice bonuses grant an additional 35% golem damage. Wow, golems are actually really strong now too. That's awesome. Bone Graft. Number of total stacks reduced from 8 to 4. Damage per stack increased from 1 to 5. Dude, Bone Spirit is gonna be wild.
I mean, compared to Shadow Blade, it's not gonna be.
For speedruns? For speedruns? It's gonna be Bone Spirit.
Yeah,
it's gonna be Bone Spirit for speedruns, and it's gonna be fucking Shadow Blade for pushing, dude. Bone Spirit looks so fun.
Yeah.
Wow.
These are good changes.
They're really
I mean, okay, to be fair, we saw nothing for Surge and Bloodlance, so I'm a little annoyed at that, but like...
This is pretty good. All right, going down to the Sork. Okay, Sork. Hydra heads now attack immediately upon spawn, unless Hydra has been cast multiple times rapidly in succession. It feels snappy and responsive to casting in most situations, but it also should discourage repeatedly spamming Hydra cast at high attack speeds to trigger more immediate attacks. Got you. Okay. Invoked Hydra previously. After you critically strike your Hydra's guild critical hit chance, now Hydra's gain 50% critical hit damage and 20% critical strike chance. Okay. So this is to make up for the fact that they no longer have Devouring Blaze and they have Primordial Binding. It's still very good, strong. Pyromancy skills critical strike chance increased from 12 to 15%. Okay. Icefall frost skill damage increased from 25 to 35%. Okay. Items. Okay. Replace Primordial Binding. Critical strike replace attack speed. Serpentine aspect. Okay. This I'm really okay. Casting Hydras consumes all your mana, increases damage by 0.5 to 2.5%. Now Hydras deal 0.5 to 1.5% increased damage per mana you had when summoned. Casting Hydra consumes all of your mana. Okay, so that's a nerf. This update, okay, hold on. You had... What? Which is only consumed when the skill is cast. Huh. Weird. I don't know what happened here. This must have been a bug. Okay, Firestarter aspect. Ranks increased from 16 to 21 previous. When newly burning an enemy, you deal additional fire damage to them. This effect is treated as a pyromancy skill. Now, gain 30% increased fire damage. When newly burning an enemy, you deal an additional 150% pyromancy fire damage to them. This effect is treated as a pyromancy skill. That's okay. Yeah. It's good for the beginning. All right, here's Willbreaker. This is physical damage you deal shatters enemy spirits, causing them to take 40% more physical damage for 6 seconds. This effect applies when first damaging a boss or elite, or when they are affected by crowd control. So, does this just give you 40% damage on the initial hit? Or is it the second hit?
I think second hit.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Even still, this is awesome, dude. I'm gonna have a hard time here, dude. Like, because I know Hydras are really strong, but like, dude, Necro's looking real fun. Liminal Echo can no longer drop hardcore. Increased Reverie's horn damage from 30% to 50%. Spark of Creation's resource generation. Okay, hold on. Okay. Okay. Catalyst. Okay, we already know about that. We already know about that. Arcana. We already knew about this. Damage from your catalyst has a 50% chance to deal 200 to 340% physical damage. A good chance is doubled. Okay, yeah, so they just completely remove the damage over time thing. Let's see. Nothing really crazy here. Yeah, that's nothing. Monster health increase per pit tier after Torment 1 has been slightly reduced to ensure a wider range of builds succeeding in their journey to Torment 4. Interesting. By how much? Huh. This concerns me. What's the pit scaling now after Torment 1?
I really like that though, actually. Like the variant or like the barrier to push up a single pit tier was so astronomically high that you could get gear upgrades, like meaningful gear upgrades, and it not be enough to push a pit tier. So like, I like the fact that they're lowering it to.
Nightmare Dungeon Resplendent Chest and Dungeon Event Chest rewards have been retuned to reward more gear out of sight and gold and Torment difficulties. Good. Betrayer's Husk, Belial material cache scale with difficulty tier, the same as other boss material caches. Okay. Drop of Skulls of Escape. Okay. Here we go. Bug fixes. Okay. Nightmare Dungeons, whatever. Fix the various issues with hard justified functions 10. It has to become invincible. Fix an issue where X-Files Corroded Signet was not properly triggering from shocking damage. Interesting. All right, Barbarian, Druid. Okay, Necromancer. Here we go. Fix an issue where Kalen's Edict was granting double the death bonus to Skeletal Warriors and no death bonus to Skeletal Mages.
That's funny.
There's a death bonus? Okay, I didn't even know there was a death bonus. Fix an issue where Aspect of Decaying Humorous would not display the change to shadow damage on the tooltips of your bone skills. Okay, cool. Fix an issue where new skeletal mages would die while wearing the Hand of Nas if your skeletal warriors or golems were not sacrificed. Really? Huh. Fix an issue where skeletal mage mastery ranks were not granted properly on the Hand of Nas. Oh, god damn.
Yeah, that
and they were already that strong?
I mean, they couldn't push at pit 100. They were stuck in like 90. So like they weren't like insanely strong, but they should be quite a bit stronger now because those minion ranks were feeding directly into Mendelm. So like the fact that you weren't getting that was kind of big.
Fix an issue where the extra mages from the Hand of Nas would sometimes die, and the archmages would revert to normal mages when entering a town. Interesting. Okay. Sort changes. Fix an issue where the serpentine aspect allowed you to summon an additional Hydra. Okay. Fix an issue. Yeah, that was not a good thing. Fix an issue where Hydra's attacks would not properly increase their critical strike chance when using Elementalist aspect. Yep. Saw that one. Fix an issue where Shimmering Ice Armor would not get more than 1 second of cooldown reduction, even when spending more than 100 mana at once. Okay, so they didn't fix the shatter bug directly. They fixed it indirectly because the way that people were getting the shatter bug to work was they used Siphon and Gizmo with burn damage. So the fact they completely took away Siphon and Gizmo means that shatter isn't even going to be a thing. All right. Huh. Interesting. All right. Let's see if they made any adjustments to the new items, base game, new items. The Hand of Nas. They're not making any changes to the Hand of Nas. It is the same thing that it was doing. Sorcerer, they're changing this to Primordial Binding and attack speed. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, so here we go. Here's the skills and stuff. So they're changing anything with the skills. Let's go down to Necromancer. Here we go. Reap, Hemorrhage, Decompose. We already knew about this. Pass. Here we go. Affliction, they're changing. We already knew about that. Ossify, they're changing. Shadow Blight, they're changing.
Wait, damage bonus capped at. Wait, did they buff that?
Base damage increased from 60% to 200%. Okay, we already know about that. Damage scaling reduced from 100% to 70%. Yes, we knew that because it used to be 100% to 20%. Now it's to 70%. Damage bonus capped at 450% instead of 300%, and now also scales with shadow damage. Just Shadow Blight's gonna be wild, bro.
Okay, to be fair, a lot of builds, and I mean a lot of builds, struggle to even hit the 300 cap. So 450 shouldn't be that big of a deal because that's not going to be attainable for.
Right, but it was because
majority.
the damage scaling was reduced to 20%. Now it's to 70%. That's why.
Oh, it's true. It's
right.
True, it's true.
So now you've tripled. You've tripled in a half. It's a 250% multiplicative increase to the scaling that you had previously. So if you could hit 300%, now you're going to be able to hit like 1,000%, right? Because of how they changed the scaling.
No, at least it should be different things. Like the damage bonus capped at 470 or 450 now was the shadow damage you got from your gear.
Right. But now you don't need as much shadow damage.
Oh wait, no, I understand. Never mind.
Yeah,
you're right.
Now you don't need as much.
I was thinking of, like,
you had to put shadow damage. You had to put
wait.
shadow damage into fucking everything in your gear. Now you don't need to do that.
Yeah, I was like thinking like stat sheet 300, but I'm like that doesn't make sense because Scourge gives you like okay, no, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is Season of Shadow Blights.
Season of Shadow Blight. Shadow Blight's looking hot. Shadow Blight's looking hot. I don't know if it's gonna be better than Bloodwave, but
it will be.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Shadow Blight's looking good.
So Bloodwave, for instance, got to pit 107 Bloodwave got to 107 and Shadow Blight was at 100. These buffs are more than 7 pit tiers, and they took away the additive from Overpower.
Yeah, they did, huh? Yeah, Shadow Blight's gonna be awesome.
This is gonna be way ahead of everything else. Way ahead.
Yeah.
Like not even close.
Yeah.
Which I'm a little annoyed at because they're talking about like, we really care about competitive integrity now, and it's like they do this shit.
Look at this, dude. Consecutive hits with Shadow Blight key passive deal 35% increased damage for each hit, resetting 6 seconds after the first. Oh my god.
Like,
fuck.
Oh my god.
Fuck, that is a wild.
One of these buffs,
increase.
One of these buffs would have been enough to push it into like a really, really good place. But the fact we did 4, shit, dude.
Well, I think consecutive hits with Shadow Blight key passive increase the damage for each hit. Does that like literally every single hit? So like if I hit 10 enemies and all 10 enemies get hit, does that mean that like it's not like per target? Like it's not like
it is per target.
It's per target, or is it like just every single time the Shadow Blight goes off, it just increases the Shadow Blight damage?
It's okay. So Blighted is per target. So if you trigger 10 Shadow Blights across 10 different enemies, 1 each, that counts as 1 stack on each of them, not 10.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, fix that. Cool. All right, and then we can go down to Sork. We already know about this stuff. The blue is what we're looking for. Okay, critical hits with Lightning Spear cause the arc to arc up to 5 other enemies. This damage is increased by 6%. Dealing 60% normal damage. Lightning Spear does 24%. Yeah. So we knew about that. Okay. Okay. Yeah, dude, that Bone Spirit build I think is gonna be fucking cracked for speedruns, dude.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
It's gonna be real fucking solid, and then you have a Shadow Blade build for your
No
for your
sever
pushing.
buffs is annoying.
All right, so in case you guys are curious for the necromancers that are out there, let me go. Where is this? Here? Yeah. Okay. Where did I put those videos? It was just in videos and recordings. Oh. I put it.
Are you gonna show off the bone spirit stuff?
Yeah, I'm trying to find where I put it though.
You're brave for browsing through his files on stream, by the way. I would never.
Yeah, like what? I don't have anything to hide. I think this is it right here. Yeah. All right, guys. So this is. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna show you what this build is looking like. So it is a harder build to play, but it's just like one shot in elites. And it's super fun against the boss. So this is the build I was working on for speed content, which I think is going to be definitely the way to go. And they're buffing this by like a wild amount, by the way. Like this build actually has like a wild amount of like increased base damage now.
Mm-hmm. Easier to build too now that Restoration's actually good now.
Yeah, it'll be easier to get to the crit cap.
I'd been talking about this build all PTR, but I never put it together because I was testing other stuff. And Otter's like, you know what? This sounds so fun. And he used a lot of the Sork tech on it and just, yeah, went ham with it.
It's so fun to watch the boss, dude. So this is going to be able to do like 65s now, which is super sick. I wasn't able to get to the boss because of the fact that like, yeah, but then watch the boss, dude. The boss is so fun.
It might be higher than 65 considering they're lowering
right.
tier scaling. Top.
That's so fun, man. That's so fun. All right, this is definitely going to be a video I'm going to cover. I have the build planner and everything for it too. I had everything prepped for it, and they just increased everything. And now Affliction with it is actually going to be, or no, it's not Affliction. We're going to be running
Ossified
Essence. Yeah. It's just, yeah, this thing's actually going to cook, dude. This thing's going to be really, really solid. It's going to be really, really fun to run. So I got the planner and everything. I'm actually going to make like a video on this and drop it. Yeah, I think I think it's time for me to return to Necro, dude.
Are we going to be playing the same build next season?
I think it's time to return to Necro, dude. The fact that like, oh man, feels good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Okay, there's still a lot of problems with Necro. The fact that so many of our builds were kind of married to Overpower to be viable, and they just like gutted Overpower means like Sever's in a really bad spot. All of like
Bone Spear's done. Blood Wave is
and Lance are gone.
Right. So I think this is cool though because it brought up Bone Spirit and it brought up Shadow Blight. Shadow Blight, Bone Spirit, and Hand of Nas. Like we brought down 3 builds, but we brought up 3 other builds too. So
okay, bringing up Shadowblight brings down every single dot build though, because there's no reason to play dot if
I
Shadowblight's better.
think
So,
honestly, man, like it's always been a case with them. They just don't like dot builds. They overload the servers and they just don't like what they don't want a dot build to be like meta.
I mean, the problem is Shadowblight does the exact same thing that dot builds
right.
do in terms of
You're right.
server.
You're right.
overload. So, like,
it does.
make
It's
sense.
fact, it actually adds. It doesn't even. Not only is it like fucking the same thing. It actually adds a damage calculation because
Yeah, so I don't buy that at all.
Yeah, so Shadowblight actually does something. So yeah, no, you're right. It actually, yeah, you should. Yeah, it doesn't. I wonder if it's just a case of like what Path of Exile does, where it's just like, I don't know, making a dot build viable is hard because of the way that dots function and they're just like too hard to calculate and make balanced. That's what fucking Path of Exile does with Ignite, right? They're just like, yeah, dot builds are just too fucking hard to balance, so we're just gonna keep them really low. Like GGG has openly stated that. They have openly stated like it's just too hard to fucking balance.
Ignite's good. Like Ignite and Path of Exile is like actually good though.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great for what it is, but it's not better than like crit based builds.
I mean, you do both. Like, there's not a reason not to crit on a Ignite build, considering Ignite is a modifier to a big single hit, right? So if you're playing like Hammer of the Gods Ignite,
That's right. So
there's a
like,
reason-
yeah, I get you. The Ignite literally scales off the initial hit of the thing. So if you crit, then the Ignite also gets empowered.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a giant damage modifier to nuke builds, which I think is like fine to have as a thing, right?
Well, I think that's the problem is that like Ignite is dependent on like the crit. It's like you're gonna build crit anyways, right? Like in order for Ignite to work, you have to build crit. I think that's a problem, right? Like why it should be that Ignite scales off something entirely different than just the initial hit. Because if it just scales off the initial hit, then just make the initial hit as hard as possible, which is what you were doing otherwise, and just add Ignite as like this extra little flavor text. But it's not Ignite.
Have
You know, it's kind of, I don't know, it's weird.
You have Affliction Duration and Ignite's what's the word that they use?
Does it have like Ignite amplification?
Yeah, there's specific roles that give you Ignite strength and duration on it. So like there are a lot of ways to like directly scale the Ignite.
Nice.
So, but like that has an identity. Like Ignite does something in the game that's unique. So it's not like I think comparing it to Ignite and Path of Exile is kind of wonky because like Ignite has an identity, whereas Shadowblight's kind of toxic for the game in that if it's ever the best way to play dot builds, then it doesn't matter what dot builds are in the game.
It doesn't matter what dot builds do. They just need
Like,
they just need to take away the cap from Wither, dude. That's all that has to happen. That's it.
We could have like 4 different viable dot builds.
That's so
but only one Shadowblight build, right?
Yeah.
So I don't like them pushing Shadowblight. I think it's really toxic game design. It's like an invasive species. You know, like it comes in and it eats everything around it, and the only thing that's left is Shadowblight. It's kind of what it does to dot builds.
God, this looks so fun, bro.
It is fun.
Look at this shit. This looks awesome. Bop, bop, bop. Fucking
bop, bop.
And then just move and move and move and move and move. Blap, blap. Blap.
You remember back in season 3, I was
This
speedrunning
looks
with Bone
so
Spirit, and I'm just
cool.
like, to this day, this is like that was the most fun I've ever had playing Diablo. Was speed farming with Bone Spirit. It's so goddamn fun. It just hasn't been viable since season 3, and now it's back.
Blap.
I'm excited.
Blap.
Blap.
It's just fine.
Oh, no,
Any density is just like dead. Oh my god. So cool.
It's so cool.
Oh my god.
Blap.
It's really hard to like, because you have the initial hit, but then you have the other 3 that come out from it. So you have to like, you have to hit and just trust that like the other 3 hits are going to kill the elite. It's kind of a weird build to play. It takes practice.
You just got to send it and trust.
Shadow Bombardier, dude. Dude, I think I already even have like the fucking thumbnail, don't I? There was one thing I need to change on it. You said you should change it to like something else. I think I have that picture to change it.
Oh, if I said something, I don't even remember what it was.
Oh my god, dude. It's just it's so cool, man. Let me see here. I swear I saved it somewhere. Maybe it's actually here. Hold on. No, it's in my. Let's see. File. Open. Let's see here. I swear I actually have it. Here it is.
See if seeing it will jog my memory.
This is it.
Yeah, I remember the thumbnail. I just don't remember what I said about it.
This has a I think it has an inner shadow on it. I need to take that out. No. So this needs to move up like that. And then what needs to
Oh
happen?
yeah, it'd go pretty hard if you had a picture of the clear timer in there because that speaks volume to how fast it goes. That's what I said. Also, how do you feel about martyrdom? Because I don't feel like that has anything really to do with the build.
I figure out how to. Nope, that doesn't work. Alt. Nope, that brings it all down at the same size. Shit. How do I do this?
Man versus machine.
Right. This section at the bottom needs to be deleted out. And it's kind of, I have to I have to just guess it. Nah, it's on that. Right there. Okay. And then I guess I could kind of bring it. Nope, not Alt. Shift. There we go. And then I can add the inner glow. There we go. That's better. This is a problem because it doesn't have the inner glow right here. It's not showing that. So I have to cut out that part of it. And you said the timer, right? And I swear I saved that timer. Here, I think this is it. So I think this was what I was trying to save. I'm just trying to figure out. Do I really want, I don't think I care about the pit timer. I think I just care about the boss damage. That just looks so cool. Delete that. We're making a thumbnail on screen, boys. Okay, let me zoom in. Eraser work. Damn, that looks good. Just need to erase this section, probably up to here. I kind of like the square look of it, to be honest. Okay. And the other part that I wanted to do was, is that a good size? Right there is a pretty good size. What I wanted to do was to go here, and I want to erase this part up leading into the shoulders. There you go. That looks fucking great. And you said you don't like you say you don't like martyrdom, is what you said?
I'm more confused why you pick martyrdom of anything.
Okay, what do you think it should be called? Just Shadow Bombardier?
You could do a playoff of Bombardier, be like, because, you know, back in season 3, you had your whole Bombardier thing and it blew up. And this is like a fun callback to it because it's literally a bomb, right?
Right.
So you can do something with that, like a play on words on that.
Like that?
That would work.
All right, and I'll take this, put this kind of like. That's a pretty cool thumbnail, dude. Fastest season 9 necro build. Is there a let me see. Let's go. What's the Maxwell? I was like, what's the D4 planner on? Oh, dude, so sad. All right, sign Discord. Let's see here, because I have the planner for it. Yeah. Thank you. Let's see here. Settings, season 9, martyrdom. There we go. Cool. No, it's not this. I tried that, didn't work out well. It's metamorphosis. Okay, so that's when I selected it. That's what I need. I can do this. This one. Yeah, that's a photic metamorphosis. Yeah. Do this. Nope. Okay. So what I need to do is to grab it kind of right in the middle, right here. Make it so I'm not grabbing anything on the bottom or the top, otherwise it looks kind of gross. Yeah, there we go. Okay. This one had an outer glow. I don't think it was a stroke. I'm pretty sure it was a glow. And this one we're going to make red. Dark red. Yeah, like that. That's a cool thumbnail. It's pretty tight. That'll work. Okay.
It'll work.
That'll work.
If you really want to clickbait it, you could go infinite speed instead of Necro go zoom in and boom.
Infinite speed?
Yeah.
Think so?
Every time we've put infinite speed in our thumbnails, they've done really well. So I'm like pre-programmed to anything that's a speed farm build, infinite speed instantly.
Okay. And then what I want to do lastly is see if I can do this. Take out the cursor. So it's taking in that. Boom. Look at that. No cursor.
I like it. I think infinite speed works better too because you have aspect of metamorphosis as like a big focus. You'd make it too busy, but like infinite speed tech or metamorphosis tech or something would work, but I think it'd make it too busy, so I think keeping it as is would be better.
Like that?
Oh, yeah, that works.
Be like, all right, so this is what I learned what to do on this is what I learned this is what I learned on Sork, and we're gonna apply it to Necro.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big selling point to get your Sork viewers into this.
Just like show old clips of me like infinitely doing super speed on my my wizard or my Sork. You just be like, so in case y'all are curious how this functions, this is what we do. And then I like show this stuff and you know what we're gonna be doing, how we're gonna be pulling it off. And it's like, all right, we're literally gonna be running the exact same tech. We might need, now that this is being upgraded, right? Might need more points into Serration, and we need less points into the critical hit chance, which is going to be super sick. I don't know, dude. I don't know what happened. Chill out, homie. Sacrifice bonuses, Doric auras. Yeah, there's the critical hit chance. We might not need to actually triple hit the critical hit chance anymore. We're just getting super game buffs on stuff, dude. The evade cooldown reduction. The intelligence with evade cooldown reduction. Yeah, that's going to do it. And we're just able to move. This is going to be really, really cool, man. This is going to be a really, really fun build.
Yeah. There's nothing quite like speed farm Bone Spirit in this game.
Yeah. It's a really, really fun build. I'm really excited to show it off. Let me go ahead and save that. Now,
now that you don't have to be fortified to get finality,
yes.
you can probably cut a lot of points out of the build that you were getting fortify from.
That's true. Let's take a look.
Because you don't need corpse generation, so you can cut the...
What did I use to even get for? I don't even think I was using anything to get fortify, honestly.
Oh, I think it was Shroud of False Death giving you Necrotic Carapace plus the corpses you were getting from Hued Flesh.
Where?
Because if you watch your
it's
clips,
not finality. It's Titan's Fall.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even run Titan's Fall because it required me to be fortified. But now I can.
Yeah, if you actually watch your clips, you were fully fortified the entire time. So I just assumed you were running Titan's Fall.
I was not running. Maybe I was, but like I don't know. Okay, so we take out here. I mean, we're definitely gonna be running that. We're definitely gonna be running that. We might even be running 3 points into that. We definitely want Reaper's Pursuit. Definitely want Terror.
Do you really need Terror though? Like you're not seeing the majority of the things that are in the thing because you're not casting Decrep on most of them, right?
Yeah, I am. Decrep is my literally like that's literally how it works, bro. Like where is it? There is can't remember. Here it is, right here. You deal increased shadow damage to enemies afflicted by any curse. And then I run this.
Oh yeah, never mind.
Yeah. Definitely want that. Standalone, we definitely want. Momentum Warrior, we definitely want. Inspiring Leader, we might not need Inspiring Leader anymore. We might not need it because of Serration.
Yeah, so take 2 points out of that.
We'll see.
Or
might not need Spiked Armor either. I was like super overcapped on armor, bro.
Oh yeah, just get it off of Spiked Armor then. There you go, more damage.
More damage. Yeah, that was it. Save that. And then for Paragon.
Were you even taking the bone board?
Oh, yeah. Bonecraft is my second board, bro.
Good.
But so now here's the question. Now, well, it only requires 3 corpse consumptions, but we have no way to indirectly consume corpses. There's no point to run it.
We're still not going to be playing for.
Yeah, we're still not playing for Flesh Eater. And the cool thing about this board is that it only requires you to be 257, and this is like it literally grabs everything. It grabs everything on the fucking board, literally everything. I'm gonna have to go through this and like upgrade it. Also, need to figure out what the leveling process is. I need to talk to Vega and be like, dude, what is your like leveling strat? Like, how do you do it?
I would assume it's just Nightmare Dungeons.
Yeah.
That density looked really, really good.
Yeah, I think we just spend all our time in Nightmare Dungeons, to be honest.
Which I'm okay with. Like, that's new content. I am more than happy to spend my time doing new content.
Nightmare Dungeons and then pits, dude. Pits are like insane XP for whatever fucking reason. Like super wild amounts of XP. But the thing is that you get Artificer Stones from completing Nightmare Dungeons. So you can swap between them. Yeah, that's gonna be cool. The question is like, this is the build I'm gonna be going for, but like, I need to figure out that like, what's the leveling build?
Oh, the leveling build's easy for that build. You just play Macabre Grant's Essence Tempers because you can get those. Like, you don't even need like max ones. It's just when you get them to drop, put them on your jewelry, and then you take Bone Spirit, and then you just blap things.
Yeah, I'll have to do some research. Figure it out. I got a couple days to figure out what I'm gonna do.
So if you're going to start with the speed farm build, I'll probably start with the pit pushing build, just that we were putting out different content, and then cover the speed farm build later and just link back to your video.
Okay. All right, guys, I'm gonna head off. We got a bunch of stuff to do. Yes, I will be playing season 9, and it's gonna be Return to Necromancer. So see what happens. All right, guys, take it easy.
Oh,
Hmm?
did the Hydra get nerfed?
No, Hydra got buffed.
That's wild.
Yeah, but it's not using Siphoning Gizmo anymore. So I don't know. Because it's not using Siphoning Gizmo with a double shatter, it might not actually work in Pit 120s. It might only be able to push to 105, 110. So it'll be pretty.
Okay, so it was nerfed overall.
Yeah, I know it was nerfed because of Siphoning Gizmo.
Okay, that's what I was wondering what the end result was.
Yeah.
Okay, that
it
makes
was
sense.
buffed, but like its Giga buffed version was able to do a 100 in like 5 minutes. So
Gotcha.
yeah. When it wasn't using Siphoning Gizmo, it was able to do a 100 in about 5 minutes. So that's with like Giga Gear, right? So like I expected to be able to do like 105, 110, but you know, it's basically what every other class is doing. So yeah.
Makes sense. All right.
Alrighty.
Goodbye, chat.
Take it easy.